Constantine, and you are listening to the Deceneus review. Welcome back. Today is episode 1 of season 2. This is it. This is the big one. We are finally back after a few weeks, and we're going to have some interesting news to share with you. First of all, because this is a special welcome back season 2, episode 1 episode. We have two guests. Of course, Mr. Fisto Sobani.
Hello.
And Lisa Kuznak.
Hello.
Somebody who is not really a shallow thinker, to be honest, right? So we do. First of all, yeah, we'll get to that topic in a minute.
I can't wait.
Okay?
That's a funny one. That's a power move. Just get, somebody starts complaining about that, and then you're like, all right, watch this, asshole.
Right. So
Damn.
yeah, I can't believe she fell for it. I mean, that was bait. Come on. Bait beyond bait. But we do have some interesting news for listeners. So once again, this is season 1 of a season. Oh my God, my brain. I'm not even going to edit that because it's pathetic if I would edit that. This is episode 1 of season 2. And we've decided to do it right before Christmas to roll with the Christmas vibe. So ho, 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 Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, Unhappy Kwanzaa. I don't know. That's not a real thing. It comes from Long Beach, California, 1970 something by Black Panthers. But anyways, off topic. Happy holidays to everyone, and
Welcome to the party, pal.
welcome to the party, right? And if you
Welcome
do
to the
not,
party.
if you're listening to this in December before Christmas or around Christmas, and your Substack profile pic does not have a Christmas hat,
You need to fix that
you need to fix
ASAP,
that. Or it's
or I
red
will get my
flag.
machine gun and come to your house
Yeah,
and
red
throw
flag.
you out
I
of
mean, I
Nakatomi
did it.
Tower.
I did it. All right.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Of course
you
you
got to
did
do it.
I'll have to pose. I'll find a Santa hat and I'll put it on top of my typewriter and I'll take a new picture of my typewriter
Mhm.
Perfect.
and then I'll do that.
Perfect.
Must do it.
Perfect.
Is Santa allowed in Canada? You guys?
Yeah. He's from way up north there in like Nunavut or whatever.
Well, I just
He
thought
even
like
he even has his own postal code. When
thought-
kids write letters to Santa, he has a special postal code.
I thought celebrating Christmas is no longer allowed up there. It's like a
Well, I don't know,
nondescript
whatever.
holiday.
You
It's
know,
Merry Gift Day, Canadians.
yeah.
Hey,
But
we're the resistance, man. Happy Christmas,
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah. Not
Merry
too
Christmas.
many gifts, guys. Not too many gifts, right? Because the poor people can't afford them, and then you're gonna, it's too much privilege in gift giving.
If you buy your children too many gifts, someone will feel bad
Yeah.
that they didn't, because like when you were 5 years old and cried that you didn't get a present.
Yeah.
So-
That's normal adult behavior.
Before we
Yeah.
begin our usual fun conversations, I wanted to announce some stuff for the listeners. The biggest announcement, and probably the most important one, I think, is that Fisto, Mr. Sobani himself, is now
Oh, God.
officially a member of the podcast. Okay.
Oh, wow.
He is officially
Congratulations,
a
Fisto.
guest host,
Hey, thanks.
right? He's been on enough, so I decided to extend the invitation. He will be an official guest host. We're gonna, co-host this podcast with me as the lead, but of course, Fisto will be on. I would say 80 to 90% or as many freaking things he wants to show up to. He's going to be permanently, officially, always invited. Okay, so I wanted everybody to fully hear that and know that this is a 2-man show now. And then Lisa's always invited also if she wants to.
I
If-
promise everyone that I will fully do my best to make all of you regret this.
right. And Lisa, you're invited from now until they put you into that icy gulag up north for your alternative belief systems.
Yeah.
So that's the first announcement. The second announcement is because we have grown so large and we are attracting attention here and there and everywhere, and this podcast is also costing me a lot more money than I intended originally, with the internet bandwidth speed, equipment that I'm trying to always improve, editing time and that type of thing. We're going to be offering some paid membership stuff, right? So first of all, the key important thing is that twice a month, I am going to guarantee to the best of my ability for an amateur podcast 2 free episodes. So the majority of the guest episodes, our interviews, our big chats, our big discussions are going to be free the way they've always been. All right, no pay, but there will be a paid option, right? It's going to be a private club option, and we're going to have more esoteric stuff on that stuff. Okay, I'm going to do a lot of the the book reviews, a lot of more interesting conversations, maybe some like solo episodes where I'm talking about stuff that interests me, or conversations that might be better served behind the paywall. I am thinking of doing one of the things I'm not thinking about, I'm going to do, and you're going to get is we're going to do movie like watching type stuff where we're going to decide a movie, something like Total Recall, for example, we talked about, and then we're all going to come and talk about it. That kind of stuff, I think it would be fantastic to be under behind a small paywall. It's going to stay on Substack, so it's going to be a Substack subscription. You're also going to get essays, and we are going to have a Deceneus Journal official Telegram channel, right? That way you can send me messages and call me gay directly instead of having to post it, right? But it's going to be for paid subscribers only, man. I don't want no riff-raff freaking talking to me, okay?
Yeah, so only the highest quality abuse
Right.
will be
And
Yep.
accepted.
look, I debated doing a more paid thing, but realistically, we have given over what, was it 230 hours or something like that? 10 straight days of free, awesome content that we provided this year. And we're going to keep doing even more, right? And I need to justify a time we spend doing this to my wife. Really, you know what I mean, right? And it's expensive. We use the different the Zoom stuff to record, and in order to record that many hours, I do have to pay over $100 something for it. It takes time, it takes money, and I could always use some extra cash. And the more money we get in, the more fancy equipment I can get, the better I can record, the better quality I have, and the more I can justify spending weeks at a time a year on this project. So there we go. Details are going to be probably posted on Substack, and I will have a lot more kind of like focus details by the end of the year for everybody. But I would, you don't have to. I'm not pimping it out or begging for it. But if you want to do it, that'd be freaking awesome. Okay. So that's the two big news announcement. So, okay, what I wanted to talk about today, since our last episode, it's been, we went through Thanksgiving. I hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving.
Absolutely did. It's fantastic, sir. Thank
How
you.
about
How was
you?
yours?
Oh, Lisa didn't have one because
Well, mine was in October,
oh yeah,
so
you
ours
just have a
ours
different
was
day,
fine. But yeah, it's a little bit earlier.
right? I
Yeah,
remember
it
you
was good.
talking about it. Yeah, so
Yep.
mine was good. I had all my coworkers over, a bunch of the younger people in my job that didn't have anywhere to go. Had them over. We had a good time. We played a lot of board games actually, and somehow it turned into this like Mexican music party while we were listening to Selena. So
Mhm.
that was interesting. But we had a really good time. I did not cook a turkey, man. I didn't make a turkey. I had it catered. All right. I went to Cracker Barrel and I bought like a $350 like catering pack thing where they made all the turkey, all the sides, pies, and everything. And then everybody brought a bunch of stuff, and it worked out much better because the one thing I don't like about my house that I bought that I live in is that it does not have gas. It is an electric stove house, and I freaking hate cooking on an electric stove.
I don't think I've ever cooked. No, I haven't. I've never cooked on a gas stove. I've only ever had electric.
Done
It's
both.
it's so much
Done both.
better. So much better.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know, I know. I would love to have a freaking gas stove. I just never have. I don't think I've ever lived in a house that I even had the connection in the kitchen.
Growing up, I never had gas, and it was always
Hmm.
electric stoves. And then when I first lived in San Diego for a little bit, we had gas stoves, and it's so much better. It's like a
Hmm.
night and day thing, and I can never bake properly in an electric. Like I can use the
Oh my
electric
God.
stovetop, but baking just does not fucking work. I heard that like those induction or whatever's electric stoves that like a lot of like
Yeah.
people use are really good, but I'm poor and I can't afford an
It-
induction stove unless people subscribe to the Dicenius review. And
yeah,
I'll
do that. Do that, please. Everybody needs a
Induction
really nice
stoves for
stove.
everybody.
yeah, I
My
need to.
stove is like freaking, I don't even know how old my stove is. Let's see, we bought this house 13 years ago and it came with the house. So it was already old when we bought the house. So it's like not, but it's not old enough to be like the cool old.
Yeah, it's the
It's
shitty
probably from
old.
like the 90s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's on mine. Mine is from like probably
Yeah.
the 2000s because I think my house was built in the 2000s, but that's probably when it's from. Uh, my washing machine and dryer are crap and they're falling apart. And I definitely need a new washing machine and dryer. But what I really need is a dishwasher because it doesn't really wash or dry dishes whatsoever. It just basically
I don't even have a dishwasher. I am the dishwasher.
yeah. Well,
Actually, no,
so
technically my husband is. My husband's the dishwasher because I have eczema
uh,
and gloves after COVID. I don't know if you are aware of this. They went from, and I'm allergic to latex, so I have to get the non-latex ones. They went from like $7 a box. They're like almost $30 a box now. So I
oh
just
geez,
suffer. I just suffer with the dish soap on my skin. So I
that is
try to not
wild.
do dishes as much as possible. So I should say like, it's split between my husband and I, but he is a saint and he
So
takes the brunt of the
I'm the
dishwashing.
dishwasher. I'm the dishwasher
Yep.
also because my wife is mostly the cook, so I tend to wash the dishes when she's cooking. And she has psoriasis, and
Oh,
she's
dish soap is the freaking worst for your skin, man. It's
yeah, and she's
terrible.
allergic to latex also. Like if she touches
Yeah.
like a balloon or something like that, her lips
Yep.
swell up. She looks like she has like filler. If she
Oh no.
like if she touches any latex, her whole face swells up and she looks like she
Oh
had like a
no.
bad filler job, you know? Like
Yeah.
so I tend to
Bust
do
out the
all the
antihistamines. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like it's horrible. But I feel like I wash the dishes by hand. I put them in the dishwasher because my wife insists to using the dishwasher. Something I never used growing up. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that is, right? And we rewash them in the dishwasher. But I think the dishwasher just makes them dirtier for some reason after I hand wash them. I'm pretty sure.
It spreads it all
Yeah,
around.
it just spreads like the film. Like I put in, so I basically like double wash all my stuff, which is like pretty dumb, but you know what? And I'm always like, I keep on looking at like Home Depot. I'm like, man, it's like a $400 dishwasher. It looks pretty nice. It
Yeah,
like dries.
Alex, you have what's called the equity feature on your dishwasher. It doesn't actually make anything better, but everything sucks equally bad.
Right,
So
Yeah.
right.
it's a
It's
real
pretty much it's
yeah,
like
it's a real
the
egalitarian
All
advance
dishes are
kind of.
equal, but some dishes are more
Yes,
equal than
yeah.
others. Yeah.
Like
correct, correct. So
sometimes like like it has the soap and then like it moves the soap
ugh,
around and then there's just like soap scum on
moves
my
the
stuff.
soap
And I'm like,
around.
cool,
That's
I
fantastic.
gotta rewash my freaking dishes now for
I'm
the third
I'm
time.
lucky with the dishwasher angle. Our dishwasher works fantastic. It's the stove that I kind of I mean, it works, but it has one setting, warm and then fucking hellfire. Like there's no, I don't know what it is with the stovetop, but there's no, you know, happy middle. It's just chill or doom. So,
Right.
you just kind of have to adjust. I've gotten pretty
Was
good at frying up the bacon on the stove. You can just
hmm
kind of boil it in the grease there and just kind of keep it moving, works out real well. But some things it's like, God damn, here we go. Better be
I
quick.
I was looking at stoves somewhat recently, like a few months ago. I was looking at them and I noticed like we went to a bunch of different stores and you can't even get the stoves with like the coil elements for an electric stove anymore. It's
Oh, it's
all
the
the
flat
flat top,
ones.
which like weirds me
Ugh.
out. I would be so terrified, especially if I had like a toddler or something, to not like, oh, it's apparently it like glows red or
It
something, so you
does.
could tell.
That's
But
what I
if
have. I have one of those. It's
no, that would just it would just freak me right out that I would be so terrified of someone like touching the stove top
yeah, I
and
do it
like
all the
burning
time.
themselves.
I do it
I
all the
don't
time.
know. I don't know. I'm
What's
weird
gonna
though.
with the one real good like amazing benefit for it is that you can clean it really well when stuff like
Yeah,
spills.
I've seen that. I've seen that, yeah.
That's the one benefit.
Mine actually has like you can lift the entire top up and then like clean all the like gross shit that has fallen down. You can clean it out from like under
Nice
the stove. So
quality.
that's a pretty neat feature.
Right.
All right.
Well,
Or
guys,
like
listeners, welcome to the Martha Stewart podcast where we
yeah.
discuss the quality of kitchenware, kitchen utensils, and
Yeah.
kitchen, you know,
Listen, guys, listen,
The
listeners,
benefits
all of
of
your
cast
stoves
iron
suck.
pans.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
You need the Iron Chef. It's either low power or hell spawn. All right. You
right.
gotta
Yeah.
none of this. I'll put it at 6. No, no, fucking 9 or nothing. All
Yeah,
right.
this
Yeah.
is a
Don't come at
cottage
me.
core. This is a cottage core podcast. We discuss, kitchen utensils, but
Yeah.
the real masculine men, the real, men of the right, the way they cook is over an open fire.
Yes.
That's
Like
right.
two sticks, a spit, and just the meat you killed.
Yeah,
Anyways,
Yeah,
something you
you
killed
get
with
the
your own
Dutch
bare
ovens with like the
hands.
feet and
yeah,
like the lids where you can actually put like the charcoal like on the lid.
right? Or
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
wood stove, like one of those pot belly stoves or whatever,
Yep.
for my
I
cabin that I
can't
built myself.
I can't wait for our first paid episode, which will be about how to properly burn witches. That'll be
Yeah.
fantastic. That's
Correct.
gonna be a really
Yeah.
good episode.
Correct.
Hmm.
We'll have Lisa and her expert Canadian witch burning.
Hmm.
Puritanism. But
Yes,
to talk
absolutely.
about that, one of the things that we when we left off in the last last season was, I mean, the last season was right around the election, right?
Oh
And
God,
that's
yeah.
the American election,
Speaking of
guys.
burning witches,
Right. So we were kind of in a weird spot then, because one, first of all, our predictions were correct. I was right. The world did not come to an end, right? Uh, my non-accelerationist, non-doomer predictions came true. Yet so far we still got plenty of time, but I feel pretty vindicated after that episode. But we didn't really know where things stood. We didn't know what the vibes were. We just knew, things were coming in new. And in the last, 2 months or so since then, because it's been maybe a month and a half or something, um, there's definitely a new vibe in the air, right? I think there's an
yeah.
undoubtedly there is a vibe shift. As lame as that sounds, we are definitely experiencing a vibe shift, and it's a positive one in my opinion. And I've been thinking about that, right? Um, take it a little bit seriously, I feel like for maybe the last 8 years of my life, or even longer, maybe 10, 15 years almost, we have lived in a really oppressive system. And I look back on it, and we, and I'm talking from a ideologically artistic way. We're talking about culture here. I'm not talking about
Hmm.
politics. I'm not talking about any of that stuff, right? I'm talking about culture, right? As a writer, as a reader, as somebody that wants to be involved and is involved in entertainment, uh, we've lived in a very oppressive culture where, as a creative person, you really had to be brave to say or do or post the things that really were on your mind,
Hmm.
because it was, at least the mainstream world was a mainstream world of, just cancellations and unbankings and, being banned off of Twitter or being banned off of Facebook. And, you know, I would be a liar. All right. I would be a freaking liar to say that, like, sometimes when I posted things, I didn't like doubt myself. I'm like, oh, do I really want to post this opinion?
Oh my
Do I
God,
really want to
sorry.
go in on this conversation? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the people that dominated our culture, a small minority of just disgusting shrews, and their enablers really lorded over the majority, lorded over the masses, right? And really destroyed the arts, all right? I think right now, if you look at whether it's film, the fine arts, mainstream literature, it's in shambles, okay?
Comedy is
Co-
freaking
Everything.
Hmm.
it's making a very slow comeback, but comedy has been dead for a freaking while now.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's been completely dead. I mean, you see it in the video game world, you see it in the film world, and you know, it makes me think, like, when did this switch happen? Because growing up, I don't, you guys can either agree with me or disagree. I'm actually interested in that. I've always felt that one of the narratives that was pushed in elementary school, middle school, or specifically high school and later was that the bad old days, the Red Scare era, right? The era where the conservatives were shutting down free speech and coming up with codes for comic books and movies, and things weren't allowed. And it was always the conservatives were the guys silencing people. And yet the 21st century was dominated by ultimate progressive liberalism, and we've had a oppressive, oppressive level of censorship, and the kind of censorship that forced you to watch what you say because you were afraid for your job. Uh, you were afraid that, like, as an author, I mean, how many times, Lisa, I can guarantee you, because I know you follow the more science fiction and fantasy authorship, like, world.
Hmm.
How many times did some mainstream, like, cat girl freaking, light science fiction writer post something, or publicize her brand new book that she wrote, and a mob of crazy people came after her because
Yep.
there was a Russian in it, or there was, like,
Hmm.
a gay bad guy or something like that, and she had to
Yeah.
apologize, and she was dragged all over, complete witch hunts, right? To
Yeah.
where I I left. I used to be a lot more interested in science fiction and fantasy. I even I think I had an account where I used to read Reddit like fantasy or forward slash whatever Reddit. I don't know if I could call this fantasy or whatever. That's when
Hmm.
Mark Lawrence used to post a lot. I mean, they went after
Hmm.
him, right? They went after that dude, right?
Yeah.
And these mobs and every single artistic endeavor was dominated by mobs of oppressive fucking assholes, right?
Hmm.
And I feel like in the last 2 months, it's come to a boil. It's come to, the last 4 years they've been in charge. They finally got the full reins of control and they just shit the bed, right? And it's finally come to the point where I think people are fucking tired of it.
I
Oh,
think you're right.
definitely. Definitely.
Um,
I've seen so many people, just people that I would consider like normal but sympathetic to,
To
I wouldn't say sympathetic to cancel culture, but that kind of mentality being like, well, the guy was being a jerk. And now they're finally realizing that, like, you know, the pendulum swings. And if they're going to be a jerk to one person one day, what's to say that they're not going to start being, like, I don't know. It just, people are just noticing the trend of this, like, terror on the art world.
and
I
it's
think, I
been
think, I think, I
go
think
ahead.
you're right. I want to highlight something for readers here, and I thought that this was a really excellent article. It came by my way thanks to a restack from Mr. John Carter, a friend of the podcast. It's by Helen Dale and Lorenzo Warby, who are both two very intelligent and very, very, very insightful culture commentators slash politics slash all kinds of stuff. Very smart people is what I'm saying. Much smarter than me. But the title of the article, and I just want to read something real quick here if I can, because what you guys are saying reminds me of this. But the title of the article is "The Democrats Have Become the Party of Feminine Cruelty." Subtitle is "They've Started as the Party of Masculine Brutality." And then it says at the bottom, meanwhile, a policy regime is running out of puff. And the article goes on to explain what's been going on. But I want to highlight this part here. This is late in the article. Policy regime in decay. We are also witnessing a policy regime run out of puff as it confronts problems for which it lacks useful tools. Social democratic policy regime of 1945-1973 broke down in the stagflation of the 70s and a flattening of productivity growth. So the neoliberal policy regime of circa 1980 to 2016 is breaking down under the pressure of migration, globalization, bureaucratization, feminization of discourse and institutions, and collapsing fertility. And then it basically goes on to say how Trump is kind of the first, it's a reaction. The election of Trump is a reaction to this and that
Hmm.
vibe shift that you mentioned 2 months, that's been going on for the past 2 months. John's comment on it was talking about, more or less how to be done and like what to do about this. And he brought up violence in so much that not that violence should never be done ever, but that it's not the right tool for this job. And I thought about that. I've been thinking, man, well, what is the answer? What is going on here? And your guys' comments make me think that maybe Trump's election and kind of the vibe shift is people just starting to say no.
Hmm.
Like, dad has re entered the room and he's gone, all right, what the fuck are you people doing? Everyone's going to your rooms. Knock it off. Like
People are
that
just
seems,
done with apologizing.
yeah, you're just
And this
exactly,
is
it's just
this is
done.
something that I've been saying for years, is that like the people, okay, so like that girl that got attacked for like putting a Russian in her book or whatever. I'm not
Yeah.
I'm vaguely familiar with that one, but anyway, it's
I
just one
remember
of
hearing
so
about
many
that. I
stories.
remember hearing about that.
These people, they have the type of personality where they're gonna apologize, and so they get attacked. So you just have to just, you want to survive in this like landscape and be true to your artistic vision and shit, stop apologizing.
Yeah.
Stop. Be unabashedly true about how you feel, how you think, whatever, and just, if someone says, well, maybe you shouldn't have Russian as your fucking character, blah, 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 and you fucking go away.
Don't fucking
I'm
Here's
read
a
not
it.
sorry. Just go
here's a
away.
bag of dicks, bon
Yeah.
appetit. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, just
pretty much.
fucking don't care anymore. That's it. Come at me.
Yeah.
If you're that mad about it,
Mhm.
do something about it. Let's go. I'm done talking.
Yeah.
To a
And
certain extent.
it's very interesting because most of these people that got piled on, and especially in the last maybe 2 to 4 years, haven't been guys or girls on our side. And by our side I mean the somewhat right. Um, they've been normies or card
Yeah.
carrying shit libs themselves.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
just these people are opportunistic,
And they can smell
parasites.
their fear, right? Like
Right.
if you have no fear, they can't come after you,
Right. And it's
you know?
Right.
cruelty. It's pure cruelty,
Yeah.
It
Like
is cruelty. Yeah.
how
That
can
is
It's
you
what
like
it
it's
is.
like a narcissistic mother on a cultural scale, is what
right
it is.
Yes.
how do you consider yourself, and these guys, these fucks, right? Because that's what they are, right? These motherfuckers, these scumbags, right? They'll sit there and pat each other on their back constantly. We're the book lit community. You go, girl. Book lit. Literature girls or whatever. We're the friendliest community ever. We're readers and writers and blah blah blah. And they pat each other's backs how polite and awesome they are and how they're friendly and stuff. But the second one of their own makes the smallest mistakes, they're like fucking sharks in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Like just destroying them because
Yeah.
they're ultimately they're mean girls. That's really what
Oh,
it is.
absolutely. But see, they're the girls that hung out in, like the art room and, you know, were picked on by the actual mean girls. And so now they're in a position of this like, oh, I can be the mean girl now. Ho 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 ho, like rubbing their
Right,
hands together.
right.
It's actually really astounding. It's it's something that I have had to deal with on a individual scale like my whole life because every woman has had to deal with women like this all the time.
Yeah.
But putting my work out there, yeah, it's really funny. Sometimes I'll put out like a note on Substack or something um that draws attention to something female specific, but it might not be the nicest view of something like that. And I will notice that all the responses and all the likes and everything are from dudes. Like it's just yeah, it can be very isolating not following that female oriented crowd. Um
Yeah,
it's pretty funny. Like, you'll see like for example, if you're in like a writer's Discord and it's like, hey, any you know, female writers or people who identify as female writers or whatever, come join this big sale we're having, and they'll like, try to promote other female authors and all that stuff. And I can't help but notice that it's all female authors that have like the exact same things to say. They're all writing about the exact same things. There's really actually no diversity of thought amongst it. It's just, oh, you're female. Oh, okay. Like, um, I don't know. It's something
yeah. It's
like when I
painful.
try to find beta readers for my own books, um, very few of them are women because I'm not writing the sort of stuff that, your standard popular female thought police people want to read about. Like it's not that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
It seems clear just that
Yeah.
when someone in that context, what you described, says the word female, they
Mhm.
don't mean, you know, human being that is female. They mean female, and then it's whatever that ideology is,
Well,
the
it's the same
code
with any
for that
minority,
ideology.
you
Yeah,
know?
it's whatever
It's
that
the same.
group, it's whatever that minority is supposed to believe, whatever
Yeah,
that
it's
is.
so like, okay. So if you look at trying to organize my thoughts here. Okay, so if you go into an agent's wish list and they're looking for Black stories or they're looking for gay stories or they're looking for women's literature or whatever, um, they're not actually looking for that. They're looking for their idea of what that book should be. And they're actually extremely predatory about it. So, like, for example, a publisher will make a call for, oh, you don't need an agent if you fall under this minority. You can just submit directly to us, um, blah, 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 blah. And I think that's how, I don't know if you're familiar with N.K. Jemisin. I think that's how she got initially signed, is that she submitted to this like open submission period, but that's aimed specifically at like minority, whatever minority of the day. Um, but they'll do that and then they'll give them really, really low advances. It's extremely predatory. I think when N.K. Jemisin was signed, she got something really pathetic, like $5,000 or something like that. Meanwhile, her peers that had been signed at like the same time got like way higher advances because they know they can get away with it because you don't have an agent.
Right.
So it's so it's actually really, really gross, like what these agents are doing. They're asking for diversity, but they're not actually wanting diversity of thought.
Right. And let's
Right.
be honest here. The entire literary establishment is predatory.
Yeah.
Okay. The whole idea of the agent as like the gatekeeper is a predatory thing. You have a person that, basically they're taking 10% or whatever percentage of your money,
15%, yeah.
yeah, to introduce you to their friends.
Hmm.
Right. It's a complete and total scam. And it's absolutely gross. And yeah, like I think sorry, I think Alex Perez, that writer guy, he posts a lot on X and on Substack. Uh, he talked about, he's a Cuban immigrant, he's a Cuban guy. He talks about how he was in an MFA program, and
Hmm.
he said that yeah, they always want minorities. They want minority voices if they say exactly what they want them to say.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. Yeah.
it's always about the
Right.
victimhood. It's like you can't, you can't be a minority and actually have like a masculine novel or a
No.
novel that questions the kind of image that the far left has of minorities as these
Hmm.
victimized, kind of pathetic, creatures, like your endless freaking movies that you see that get Oscars just because they're sad and sappy, or victimhood type stuff. You can't really have like Brett Easton Ellis on his podcast talks a lot about this when it comes to like homosexual men, how he
Hmm.
hates like the portrayals of gays in Hollywood for the most part, because they're always portrayed recently as like the perfect little agentless good guys, that they have
Hmm.
no real like, and he said, gay dudes, they can be predatory, they can be bad
Yep.
guys,
Hmm.
they gay dudes like to fuck, they like to go out there and do crazy shit, and there's good guys, there's bad guys, there's downright disgusting guys, just like straight
Yep.
guys, and you can't portray characters with any depth, because the second you portray a gay male or a gay female in any negative light, it's immediately shut down, or
Hmm.
you're never going to have, when was the last time we had a black villain on television? Like, come on, like, unless the movie was all black, right?
Hmm.
They're always portrayed as the super good guys, and that really sucks, because let's
It's
be honest,
patronizing.
it's patronizing, and villains are usually the best characters in any film, right?
Yep.
Like, it's just how it is. People remember Darth Vader. Nobody cares about Luke Skywalker, right?
Mm.
Right.
But yeah, I think we're going through a vibe shift, artistically speaking, right? And I think that a lot of people are just fucking tired of it,
Yep.
because ultimately, for all that we talk about Americans do have internalized, and for the most part, the majority of us love freedom. And when I mean freedom, I mean it in that anarch kind of way of like, you know what, do your own thing. I think this is a moderate American like soul, which is like, leave me the hell alone.
Hmm.
I just want to grill. I just want to do my own thing. I want to shoot my guns or whatever, or you can go do your own thing. Just leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Right. And it
Hmm.
Right.
got to the point where even people, you're right, that for the most part are like, you know, quiet about everything or polite. And it's because Americans are, for the most part, very polite people, compared to
Hmm.
Europeans. Europeans will tell you what they think, the Italians, Mediterranean Europeans, Eastern Europeans will be like, oh, you're fat or something like that to your face, right? Americans are really polite. So I think they were quiet for a long time. And then finally are like, you know what? I'm tired of this shit,
Hmm.
And I think I made a Substack post maybe a week or two ago. I don't know if you guys remember it, where I said that The reason Trump won was not because the majority of people fully agree with the right wing, hardcore right wing positions that some of us believe, right? Like, yes, a huge portion of the base of Trump is, your kind of extreme right wingers are, dark web guys and are Baptists and that type of thing. But the reason Trump won was not because of those guys, right? Not because of guys like me, to be honest, right? He won because your average American was just like, hey man, why don't you just leave me the fuck alone? I'm tired of your bureaucratic nannyism, and maybe I just don't give a fuck about like trans stuff. Maybe I just want to ride the subway in
Hmm.
peace, And the reason I brought that up was I said that it's very important to realize that we cannot replace the obnoxious blue
That's
hair
right.
nags with our own version of it, right?
Right.
The way I look at it is that this vibe shift, this thing that we're living through right now, it is us breaking through the lines, right? This
Hmm.
is not a victory, okay? This is not a cultural victory. This is a victory of a battle. This is the Battle of the Bulge, and we just broke through the American lines, okay?
Hmm.
Right? Sorry. And we got the high ground. We control the battlefield right now, right?
Right.
We are in a spot where now we need to bring in the logistics. Now we need to bring in the cultural, like heavy weapons. We need to
That's right.
bring we need to bring the stuff. So we need to deliver because what happened is the other side, the mean girl side, right, the blue hair side, they dominated the entire playing field for the last 8 years. Well,
Hmm.
4 years. Specifically, and they brought nothing to the table, right? So now that we broke through and we pushed them out, we need to bring something to the table, right? And by we, I
Hmm.
mean culturally speaking. We're talking about culture here, not politics, right? So
Yeah.
we need to replace that culture. We need to turn away from the institutions because they're rotten to the core, right? They are broken, failing. We cannot be begging for crumbs. We cannot remake the literary institution when it comes to writing. Okay, they're done. They're dinosaurs. They're done. We need to replace that. We cannot remake Hollywood. It's not going to happen, right? We need to break it down and start over. We need to start fresh, but we need to be here. We need to bring something. We can't just sit here and go, oh, like we're winning, yay, and then do the whole red, like that. What's that? Those crappy cowboy movies those dudes were making, or Hallmark Christian movies or wherever garbage like gets put out by right wing media, right? We need to
Hmm.
really just go back to making the kind of stuff and standing our ground when it comes to this stuff, right? And we cannot do the same thing that they did, right? We have to be gracious winners in the way I look at it, right? Um,
Hmm.
we absolutely should uh, be mean to and shut down those guys that did the type of stuff that they did. But we also have to realize that the majority of people covered their asses. They just went along because they were scared. They
Hmm.
went along because they, did not want to get canceled. They did not want to lose their livelihood. That kind of stuff. So we have to admit that we need to Marshall Plan it in a way. We need to bring them back in the fold, and we're not gonna do that if we become just as retarded as
That's right.
the other side was. And that was my point. I got some crap from people, but for the most part, I think most people agreed with me. What do you think about that, Fisto?
No, I think you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, I voted for Trump because I hate Harris more and because fuck all y'all. I mean, that's really the end of it. I didn't do it because I thought he's a good idea. I did it because, like I said, I hate the other side more. And
Right, me
that's
too.
just hi, that's just how these things work, right? That's a perfectly reasonable thing. Um, as far as building stuff goes, the thing I keep thinking about is like what I'm doing in my classroom. And over the next couple of weeks, we're coming to the end of the semester, and I have this absolutely insane plan for the midterm that's going to be totally nuts. Big like kind of project activity thing, and I'm really trying something creative. I'm trying something new, and I have an administrator who really doesn't think the kids can do it, who really doesn't think the kids care about this stuff. And I'm in there every day, like even the ones who like really aren't into it are finally starting to get into it. And I have a couple of students who are like engaging on research projects on their
Hmm.
own, Like they're doing the I'm going to go learn on my own because this stuff is cool. Like they're getting it. You know what I mean? And for me, I'm like, yeah, you don't think they care, and you say comments like that all the time. And honestly, I don't. I'm ignoring that. I see what I see. I have the vision, and I'm just gonna go do it. And God helps anybody that gets in my way. Because at the end of the day, I have the support of the people who matter. My direct boss is like, do what you want. I trust you guys to figure it out. So here we go. All right, like I'm cutting loose,
Mhm.
and that's what we need to do. We need to figure out what the sick stuff is, like you were saying with Hollywood and writing and everything else, and in my case, education. Find the stuff that's sick and spend the next 4 years at least burning the heart out of it and bringing something different to the
Mhm.
table that people will go, wow, it's really good that all those nags shut the fucked up, right? Because then these guys get out there and, oh, they did something
Yeah.
cool. They created something, for the glory of Rome. Let's go. Like,
Mhm.
oh, okay. Maybe we should do that sort of stuff more often.
Right.
I think there's a big problem too, and this isn't a recent thing. It's throughout time immemorial, is that like young people aren't given enough credit. Um, a teenager who says, I don't care, they're looking for you to give them a reason to care.
Right. Them not
And
caring is probably the smart move
Right.
because what
yeah,
they've been given to care about is garbage.
they've
So,
been failed by adults for so long. Like, okay, so my oldest is 14, so that's grade 9 up here. I don't know what you guys call it in your stupid fucking words there. But
14, 15 is grade 9. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, grade 9. Um, so I'm thinking back to the year he was born, and that is when all this stuff really started happening. The early 2010s was when all
Yeah.
this shit really started kicking off. And then you get to the mid 2010s, so 2014, 15-ish was when it started really, really heating up. Trump gets elected in 2016. Then it just went off the rails because they had to just stick it to the man or whatever. And and then Biden and now this. So his whole life, so basically the entirety of Gen Alpha has been just witnessing a bunch of stupid adult bullshit in the arts. Like what significant cultural event has happened for Gen Alpha?
Nothing.
And it isn't Gen Alpha producing content, it's the adults producing content for Gen Alpha, and they've gotten fuck all nothing. That's depressing to me. They don't ask for toys at Christmas because all the toys are shit. They don't ask to go see movies. I don't remember the last time I took my kids to the movies because they don't even ask to go because there's nothing they want to see. And I have two boys, by the way, so it might be different for girls, but for my two boys, there's fucking nothing. Um, they don't care about, I mean, boys don't really care about fashion anyway, but like I see teenagers in high school and all they wear are like sweatpants. They don't even have like fashionable celebrity icons for young men. They just wear sweatpants to school. They all look like bums. Like it's there's like when we were young, there were guys who looked cool that they could look up to, musicians, rock stars.
Right.
Like boys don't even want to
Yeah.
dress nice. And
Well,
like I understand that I'm a woman, so like I care about that shit. I don't know if teenage boys care as much as I think that they should care about that. But like it's just a symptom of a larger thing. They don't have any heroes. All the celebrities that are making like all the action stars right now are fucking old.
they're
Where
like
are the
our
young men?
generations. Yeah, they're our
Yeah,
generation's action stars.
yeah,
But you know what? It's very interesting. I'm going to interject real fast, but that's something I
yeah.
noticed is that when I was a grown up, so I graduated high school 2022, wait, 2002. Sorry,
Mhm.
I'm slow today. Um, and I feel like when I was in school, we did have like male like vibes or male like styles, right? So we
Mhm.
talk about scene stuff like death metal, goth and punk and all that kind of stuff, right? I felt
Mhm.
like the people that were the most into that kind of stuff were the dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was goth girls everywhere,
Hmm.
but there were the goth girls with the boyfriend that was the goth dude, like
Hmm.
you had all kinds of like, guys that were like, oh, trying to be Robert Smith and, Sid Vicious type guys and, that whole look and the crust punks and all the metal heads. And you had the grunge guys, like
Hmm.
or the rap metal dudes and stuff and the gangster rap guys. Guys all had distinct styles and are part of scenes themselves.
Yeah.
But I look at younger people now and I'm
There's no
around a lot
scenes.
of,
All the
there is
scenes
no
are dead.
scenes. All scenes are online and all scenes
Yep.
are completely dominated by women. So you can go
Hmm.
on Instagram right now and there is hundreds of thousands of like scenester goth girls, right? Or,
Yep.
with the makeup, they look like Susie Sue and, they probably never even listened to Susie Sue, but they all like look like that.
Yep.
But there's not one dude, unless
Hmm.
it's like some like trans
Hmm.
dude or something like that. It's like they've been completely erased because right now what you see now is like goth girl or like scenester girl or like anime girl or whatever, and like regular dude in like sweatpants as the
Yep.
boyfriend.
Yep.
You know,
Hmm.
when
Hmm.
it used to be like a combination of both, or
Hmm.
um, that type of thing. It's like basically like males have been completely erased from any type of scene. They're just there as
Yep.
the accessory. When
Hmm.
when I was in high school, I lived in California, and one of the big kind of trends in that era was rockabilly and psychobilly, and everybody was
Hmm.
into that ink and iron thing, and everybody had the tattoos and the greaser thing, and everybody looked like John Travolta in Grease.
Hmm.
And my brother was really big into that. He had this huge pompadour, and he wore like white shirts rolled up, and he put his cigarette pack in his sleeve and all this shit, and all his buddies used to wear like the straight mechanic jeans rolled up with like the black motorcycle boots and stuff, and you
I can
know,
picture those guys.
yeah, they had like little jackets and stuff, and,
Yeah,
like that.
man.
Hmm.
And there was all those like rockabilly girls with their perfectly done hair and the tattoos, and that was the scene back then. And you just don't see that anymore. Like you don't see these dudes. Like the girls still there. You can go online, you can still find those girls that look like that, but you won't
Hmm.
find. But it's all performance for Instagram, right? You don't find
Yep.
out in the real world. You're never gonna run into like some rockabilly dude anymore. I don't know, maybe in Los Angeles still, but out here where I live, that just disappeared. And I didn't see it when I still lived in California, but there's no dudes. Like
Yeah.
it's like they've the male has regressed to like a nothingness.
Yep.
But listen to this, right? When what was it last week? We had that New York Times article from that human yeast of a creature, right?
Yeah.
What's his name? I'm gonna call him out right here.
The
David J.
one that you,
Morris,
yes, the one
right?
that you
David J.
eviscerated.
Morris, right? Well, first of all, this guy is such a piece of shit, right? Because he's mealy mouthed, right? If you read that article, he's like, well, men don't read fiction anymore, which is fine. Because
So I'm gonna
like,
make them read Sally Rooney. Like I'm a
right,
woman.
right.
I don't even read fucking Sally Rooney. Get the
Right. So
fuck.
that's he goes, yeah, so I think it's very important for me to get males involved in reading by making sure we cover The Handmaiden's Tale. All right. The Handmaiden's Tale
Look,
fucking
look,
sucks, okay?
Alex, you're gonna love this. So
Oh my
you
God.
guys are talking, and I think at the end of the day, we have to be the heroes that our kids are missing, right? Like
Yeah.
we have to do the work. It's got to be us doing it, right? So when it says, you know what I'm gonna do to get kids interested in reading between now and Christmas break, they're gonna see me reading Brothers Karamazov in class.
Right.
That is gonna be what they're gonna see me doing. I
Yep.
finally cracked it open, man. I finally cracked it open. One of the guys in my class today was like, hey, mister, what are you doing for Christmas? And I said, oh, well, I'm going to go over to my friend's place and, their family's kind of adopted us. And I'm also going to read this book. And he's like, oh, what book are you reading? I'm like, I'll show you. And I pull this thing out and he's like, my God. I mean, it's a huge novel, right? You
Yep.
know, pull this thing out and he's like, oh, man, that's all right. A couple people are asking about it later. Like I have it on my table and people walk by my desk and they eye this massive fucking book I have because they're probably thinking, is he going to make us read that? He's going to make us read that. That son of a bitch. And it's like,
Cruel and
I
unusual punishment. Yeah.
And they're like
heck yeah, man, do
they're
it.
like
And I tell him, I'm like, he's like, yeah, guys, I'm gonna read Brothers Karamazov. I finally finished Umiswell, and they're like, oh, what's Umiswell? I'm like, well, and
I I
I'm just gonna be who they need to be. I'm gonna
I
be
do
who they
that I
need to
do
be,
that
and
at
I'm just gonna
work.
yeah, they're gonna see us doing it.
Mhm.
And while you have all these e-girls or whatever dressing up doing, and all these people who think they're doing something online secretly, like all the men have disappeared from the internet because they're reading Saint Ted. you know.
Right. They
That's why they're
obviously
all gone.
they're
Yeah,
reading the same pen. You know, they should be reading the
yeah,
Brothers
they're out there
Karamazov
plotting.
there.
Yep.
Yeah, they're out there. Yeah, hey, New York Times, they're not reading your slop because they're out there, digging into Shakespeare
Right?
and
And
digging
you're
into
like,
the
they're like,
Yep.
classics.
but
They
Mr.
that have
Sobani,
always been good.
Mr. Sabani, what is that book about? Well, listen up, okay? This book
What is it not about? Here we
is about,
go.
yeah, what is it not about? But we know certain parts of it are about this dude named Ivan who wants to bang the same chick his dad is banging and takes all his money and goes on a drunken orgy rampage with a bunch of gypsies, blows his money, and spends his time whoring with gypsies, and then maybe or maybe not, kills his dad because his dad's trying to sleep with the same chick that he's in love with, who's a mean old slut named Grushenka. But that happens in the Brothers Karamazov, But nobody
Mhm.
tells you that. Nobody tells high school kids that because if first of all, you know what, to this day, I will thank you, Mrs. Jones. All right, my multinational international literature course English teacher my junior year and my English teacher my sophomore year. She's like, Alex, most of these kids in this class are retarded. So take this book. And she handed me the Brothers Karamazov. Just don't even bother coming to class and just we'll talk about it in like a month. Okay.
There,
And
I didn't have
there
any
you go.
teachers like that. I
and
had
that's
to
what I
find all
did.
my
Come back to it.
degenerate literature all by
Yeah,
myself.
Yeah.
yeah,
She also
My
handed,
favorite book in high
yeah.
school.
You know what? I'll get that book officially added to my classroom library, and then just hand it out to kids. Just read this.
Mhm.
Don't worry about anything else. Come back to me in a month, and you'll have an A in the class.
you're gonna love it. You know what? When you're
Don't
when you're
worry about
done
it.
to it, when you're done close to being done with it, let me know and I'll reread it real fast and we'll do an episode just on it
We'll do an
because
episode.
it
Yeah,
is a
we'll do an
it-
episode.
it's still the greatest novel ever written. I will stand by that. If anybody disagrees, I will fight
Yeah,
you.
I'm
I
looking
will
for. Yeah, I'm
fucking
looking
So
forward
fight
to it, man.
you.
I'm
All right.
finally ready.
so
I'm finally ready.
And it made me
before we
cry.
move on,
Okay.
I gotta get this out though. So I've
Okay,
been
okay.
thinking a lot lately about like speaking of no men in literature, but specifically sad boy literature. Okay. My favorite novel in high school was The Sorrows of Young Werther. I was obsessed with that book. Um, I read it multiple times and I reread it actually pretty recently. I don't think it was this year, maybe it was last year. Oh my God, that book is so fucking good. And and then you think about other oh, what's another good example of like a sad boy character? Um, Heathcliff in Wuthering Heights,
Right.
right? So, and then I'm thinking, okay, where have all the sad boys gone? They're making movies, or at least they were.
Right.
Taxi Driver, like all these like characters that sad young men are maybe wrongfully identifying with, but there's a reason they're identifying with them. Um, with like the Joker profile pictures and like all this stuff and like Drive, for example, or Blade Runner 2049, they're all identifying with K, right? So I don't know, where are all the sad boys at? They need to be writing more depressing poetry and books about uh you know their broken hearts, and I think they were writing a lot of goth music in the 80s too. Like there was a bit of that.
Right. Like
Um
Robert Smith and around.
yeah.
We're doing
But
podcasts now, Lisa.
but
Get with the
yeah,
program.
we
That's what they're
gotta
doing.
do
All the sad boys
podcasts.
are doing. You know what? My
Where
on
are the
my
sad boys? I want them to write books, okay? I want them to be writing
You're talking
books.
to two of them right now. You're
am,
talking to
Yeah.
two of them right
am I a
now.
Yeah.
sad boy? Yes. Yes. I'm actually pretty sad all the time.
But yeah,
Sadness
I've been
is a
thinking about that.
blessing.
Yeah, they're not yeah, we need more sad boys specifically in
You
literature.
know what they're doing? They're
I
watching
don't
they're
think
watching
I don't
anime.
They're
think I
watch
could do
yeah, they're
sad
watching
boy. I
anime.
could do rage boy, but I can't do sad boy.
Yeah, yeah.
They're
They're
watching
watching anime
anime.
and they're go ahead.
They're watching anime because anime, if you watch any of like the big anime type stuff,
Yeah.
like the Sunshine Girl and like Bell's the one that's on Amazon that's really worth watching. Um, there's a lot of emotional depth and sadness, and it's usually from a male perspective, and
Mhm.
that's what they're doing. All right, and I
Yeah.
know that for a fact because I I have young male friends that's what they're into. They're
Yeah.
into depressing video games and stuff, right?
Yeah,
Like
how do we
Cyberpunk
reach these kids though? They
2077.
need to be reading books. I want to
You
read
know,
more sad boy books.
and we got to put
They're
him,
just not
but look at
making them.
that. But look at this. Okay, look at this asshole,
Yeah,
right? So this
yeah.
asshole, David J. Morris, asshole, right? He teaches creative writing. So he's a literature guy, and he's all about being on top, on top of the list. And he talks about recommending The Handmaid's Tale, busted ass old books that nobody gives a shit about because it's so tacky and cliche. And Sally fucking Rooney, right? I've
Hmm.
never read Sally Rooney, so she might be great. I'm gonna guess she's not, right? But he doesn't mention the most interesting, probably the best, living writer right now that's like mainstream, Michelle Welbeck. All right. So you have a
Oh
male
yeah.
writer.
Oh yeah, I for yeah, okay. So he's a sad boy writing literature,
Yeah,
but he's
he's
also like super fucking old,
right.
you
He
know?
an international famous writer that just put out another book, right? Everybody that reads literature should know or should have read Michelle Welbeck, right? Like the possibility of an
Hmm.
island, mapping the territory, all this stuff, right? So why the fuck don't you recommend that, Mr. Morris, right?
Yeah.
Oh, because Michelle Welbeck writes about male sexuality, right? He
Oh,
writes
how
from a
dare
male
he? That's
perspective. He
disgusting.
writes about
Fucking
dudes that want to
gross.
bang chicks, you know? And he writes about, oh
Shocking. I've
shit,
never heard of this. I've never heard of this. Tell me more.
right,
Filthy.
and then
Tell
It's
me more.
terrible.
he writes about the existential sadness of Europe being taken over by migrants. Oh God, oh, damn, you know,
How
like
fucking dare he?
you can't have that, But in France, they're still allowed to do that. They're still allowed to do that, and
Yep.
we're not allowed to do that here unless you write about your time at the Ivy League college and your strange fantasy with dating the professor and your trip to Europe or whatever on your daddy's money, which seems to be every fucking novel that's lit right now.
Hmm.
But yeah, like why doesn't he? If you're really interested in literature and you're really interested in getting males to read, just hand them the delicious taco book, man. You know what I
Yep.
mean? I actually recommend it. So a bunch of my coworkers sit around and all they talk about is their Tinder dates that they go on, right? Their adventures through Tinder. And I was like, have you guys ever read Delicious Tacos? And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, well, let me tell you about this Delicious Tacos. I'm like, why don't you download this on your phone right now? And he did. But he downloaded the pussy on his Kindle on his phone, and he's like, holy shit. He's like, oh my god, this is my life. Like it was captured perfectly. My buddy even has like a stray cat he adopted, just like Delicious Tacos in his short stories, and
Hmm.
because it speaks to people,
Yep.
the dating life and stuff, and it comes back to the thing that I said on the other podcast I was on JP's John Prester's podcast, where I think that as a writer, as an artist, you have to tell the truth. You have to be
Yep.
honest, and we are not allowed. We are missing a huge section of truth in our society, right? Because
Hmm.
you don't get the middle class, even lower class, or even upper class male perspective anymore. It's gone. There's no
No.
truth from our side, right? And you don't get, any real like female perspective that's outside like an Ivy League like trust fund kid thing. And you don't get a real minority viewpoint because unless they're
It
complete
has to be controlled.
unless it's controlled.
Yeah.
So it's all fake. And that's why Barnes and Noble and Books a Million and whatever other shit store is just sexy dragon novels, top to bottom,
Hmm. Yeah.
and it's just garbage, entertainment, but garbage, and that's why our movies are boring and everything's
Hmm.
boring because there's just no truth anymore. Um, yeah. So how do we change that? And look, this is my theory, right? And my plan at least, right? I grew up being that weird guy, right? That guy that reads, okay? I was the dude that like I remember in middle school I used to go to the library and I would check out those massive World War II history books about like every plane and like battle and like I knew everything about the Battle of Stalingrad when I was like in sixth grade. And I had like books of like World War II and World War One uniforms. I actually still have one that I saved after like 30 years still. And I was just that dork. I could tell you all about like German tanks when I was like in sixth grade, right? And but at the same time, I never fit in academically because I just didn't, it was just not, I wasn't welcome at that table in a way.
Mhm.
I wasn't welcome at that table because I had a, I would guess, a kind of aggressive streak. I wanted to read what I wanted to read. I didn't want to sit there and read, The Handmaid's Tale, and I didn't care about that. And, for the most part, 90% of the teachers I had up until, through college were just not, not for me. They didn't,
Mhm.
like I studied art in college, right? And you if you look at these artists, these modern era artists, somebody like Pablo Picasso, right? These guys are ballers, okay?
Oh yeah.
These guys were
They were complete degenerates.
okay, Pablo Picasso's out here, he used to carry a pistol in his pants, and used to like pull it out like, in bars and stuff. And then you have like, my favorite modern artist, Amadeo Modigliani, little Italian pervert, and this dude, he's sleeping around with like 16-year-olds and he's dying of the consumption and he's just like, they're all degenerates and party animals and they're fighting and stuff and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And they're leaving these lies, and here we're learning about these, and then meanwhile, our modern artists are complete fucking dullards. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
we need to like be inclusive in our galleries and stuff. And fuck that. You know what I mean? Like, I
That's
just
why
want to,
art sucks now.
yeah, I just want to
That's why
drink and
art
shoot
sucks.
guns. And like I'm gonna
Yeah.
shoot guns and I'm gonna draw weird cubes on the freaking wall. Like. That's what I want to do, Like you
Yeah.
almost like kind of like
Yeah.
respect those old communists from like that era because at least they fucking did something. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like those
Yeah,
guys,
you see this with the leaders and the heroes too. Like what what is any it's all bureaucrats. And like we just got done this week with with the Crusades. And when we're doing the third Crusades, it's like Saladin and Richard the Lionheart just freaking slug match between these two dudes, and like Lionheart jumping out of a ship and leading a freaking charge up the beach, and it's like, what the fuck? Who are these people? And the kids are reading about it, they're watching the videos, and like they're just like, who the fuck are these? What are these guys doing? And it's like, that's called life, guys. They were living life. That's what they were doing.
right? And then you
It's
tell them
just
about
hell
it.
yeah, let's
You're
go.
like, if you have a good history teacher, and
Oh
that really like a real good history teacher and sits down and goes, no, it's not just boring facts on paper.
yeah,
No,
on
these
Yeah.
such
guys
and such
jumped
day.
off of
No.
ships and poked each other's eyeballs out and freaking flayed each other alive and
Well,
burnt
like
Yep.
entire cities down.
yeah, we were watching this video series, and I'm like, guys, watch what happens at the beginning of this, because I was trying to like really sell up the Third Crusade as like this one's the goated one. Like this is the one where things go totally off the rails. And I'm
Mhm.
like Richard does at the beginning, and it was after the Battle of Acre, and he brings all the Muslim prisoners out, and Saladin's like, "What are you guys doing?" And then he just fucking butchers them wholesale out in front of the Muslims, and it's like, holy
Mhm.
shit. Okay, yeah, this guy ain't playing, kids. This guy's not here to play. And then Saladin's like, all right, fair enough. Butchers all the Crusader prisoners. It's like, oh no, here we freaking go. It's
Yep.
like, there you go, guys. Like, this is exciting. Like with the artists, like Pablo Picasso whipping the pistol. There was I forget what we were talking about, but at some point today, somebody made a joke about how like they'll never grow up and like do something crazy like this, and I was like, well, why not?
Yeah, just do
And
it, man.
and like five people pause and they look at me, and I'm just like, I mean, you guys never know.
Yeah,
What
Yeah, you never know.
things
you
could
don't know that
change.
you won't. You
Mhm.
don't know that you won't. No. Oh, I remember what I said. I was like, guys, Justinian was the nephew of a dirt farmer, and he grew up to order Belisarius to slaughter 30,000 people in the Hippodrome. You guys are the sons of farmers. How do you know
Yeah.
that you won't
Yep.
ascend to the purple and freaking change the world? I mean, come on, you guys got no idea what's gonna happen, but it could. Probably most of
Sometimes
us.
you
Hey,
gotta
sometimes you
use
get lucky.
you gotta
Sometimes you get
use
lucky.
burning hot tongs to peel the flesh off your enemy's heretic's
Yeah.
skin,
Yeah,
And
listen.
it
Sometimes you
just
just got to do that.
yeah. But
Hey,
yeah, no,
sometimes you're a Mongolian horse archer, and you're just like, guys, what if we stopped killing each other and just started killing everybody else?
Yeah,
You know,
that's
Genghis,
a
that's a
really
great
great strat.
idea.
Yeah,
That's
fantastic.
You might be onto something there, buddy. And he's like, plus
Mhm.
they've never seen anything like this before, so they'll all shit their pants.
Oh, but I mean,
Yeah,
So here we go. So here we go.
and we're
are we
gonna get
inclusive?
so much pussy while we do it.
Yeah, are we? Whoa, whoa, whoa! Respectfully, we ask for it and compensate.
You you have a very wide definition of ask, my
There might have been a
friend.
total of two permissions asked.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, the real world, and I'm not saying that we need to return to barbarism here,
No,
but
no. I mean,
we
maybe, but no.
yeah,
Maybe.
we are
Well,
totally living in
are
a
you sure?
Demolition Man future right now.
We
Yep.
could, but I mean, maybe we shouldn't. We probably shouldn't, right? We shouldn't return to. Well, I mean, we could try, right? We could try it
Right.
for a while, see how it goes. No, 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 don't.
So, have you guys seen Demolition Man?
Kids, do it, do it. Return to barbarism.
Return to barbarism, guys.
What?
Have you seen Demolition Man, the
Do
movie?
it.
I haven't seen it since I was like really
It's been a
little, so I
long
don't
time.
remember.
It's been a
Okay.
really long
Well,
time.
it's one
Put
of
that
my
on the
favorite.
list. That'll be right after Total
That will be
Recall.
it's so it's one of
Yeah.
my favorite movies from that era. It's another near future sci-fi movie, and
That's Stallone, right?
that's Stallone, right?
Or am I
Stallone and
thinking of
Mhm.
Stallone?
Sandra
Right.
Bullock
Okay. Okay.
at her best. Okay, Sandra Bullock at her hottest. Okay, um,
That's right.
and so the quick plot of Demolition Man is Stallone is like this super cop badass dude, and he's basically like dueling with Wesley Snipes, who's like this like gang terrorist
Yes.
dude, and he's like a SWAT guy, and he's busted into this building to arrest Wesley Snipes, and Wesley Snipes has all these prisoners, right? He's got all these prisoners, and he blows them up and kills them all,
Mhm.
and uh, basically he captures Wesley Snipes, but because he kind of got framed, the way it kind of like came off was that like the he was responsible for the death of all those prisoners. Well, it turns out that they were already dead by the time he even got there. Wesley Snipes already killed him. He just made it look like, Stallone killed
Right.
him. So the punishment for that, for both of them, is that they get put in like cryo freeze. Like that's the punishment, right? They're just like frozen away forever, right? And
Sure. It
uh,
worked in Futurama.
for like
Just freeze your problems away.
exactly that same thing, right? But also for some like plot contrivances and the plot type of stuff, Wesley Snipes gets awoken like 100 years later, or he comes out of cryo and he goes on a new crime rampage type of thing. So they're like the cops are like, oh, we don't know what to do, so let's wake up Stallone. So they bring him back up. But now Stallone comes from a world that's like violent and brutal, very like Judge Dredd era of like gang warfare, SWAT teams and stuff. And he's in Los Angeles now, but he is
Yeah.
living in Los Angeles of like, basically the ultimate progressive liberal paradise. Okay. Everything is fully controlled, everything's perfect. It's just very much like in Serenity. It's basically the fantasy of Miranda,
Yeah.
and like
Yep.
he gets paired with Sandra Bullock, and the cops don't have guns. They have like little stunt batons. And obviously there's like scenes of like Wesley Snipes like grabbing like the stun baton and beating the shit out of people with it and like killing him with it. And he's like, this guy's like, I'm gonna get guns. He's gonna go to a museum. He gets all these guns, and they don't know what to do. They can't fix this guy's on a rampage, and so they bring Stallone back. But Stallone's like, he is like trapped in like this nightmare of like progressive perfection. And there's one scene where he's with Sandra Bullock and she's like, "Do you want to have sex?" And he's like, yeah, you know. So he like takes off his clothes and he walks out into like the living room. And she's like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" And like freaks out. And she like goes, "That's not how we do it anymore." So she puts on like this like VR helmet that's connected to like his VR helmet, and it's like this like weird like VR like thing. And he's like, "Ugh, what the fuck is
Oh,
this?"
good
He's
Lord.
like gross, and it's just funny because like if he cusses, like this machine like puts out like gives you a ticket, and there's no meat. Meat's like illegal. It's all vegetarian.
Mhm.
It's just the funniest movie because it's like, like he's like fucking just stuck in this horrible perfect world, And in the sewers, there's these dudes that live there, and they've rejected this world. So they're eating like rat burgers and shit, and they're living like bums in the sewer. And that's who we are. We're the guys from the sewers.
Yeah.
Now we're coming up again, okay? And we're gonna
Yep.
eat that rat burger, man, because we need to. We're gonna say no. But yeah, it's a funny movie because I always felt like it was out of all the futuristic predictions of dystopias, this perfect utopia is the worst dystopia in my mind. I would rather live in like Terminator 2, like hunter killers like looking for me than like
Yeah.
being stuck in like
Crushing skulls.
where
Yeah.
the cussing machine like finds me for cussing. That's where we're heading, man. That's where we're heading. And we
Yep.
said no to that,
Yeah.
right? Which
Yeah.
makes me bring up to another topic, and this is a literature topic, but it's also applies to film and stuff. I saw on X maybe a week or two ago, and I meant to write like a little article on it, but I'll bring it up here. So there was like a study done, not like a real scientific study, but like an assessment that modern movies in the last decade have had the least amount of sexual scenes ever.
I believe it.
So modern movies have become completely asexual or they completely lack any romantic scenes. Now,
Yeah.
now there's multiple reasons for this, right? And
I blame the Bechdel test because that's just the slippery slope.
right, absolutely. That is definitely one reason. Well, what's funny is when the person that posted this study or the original commenter, he had this like really like idiotic like shitlib take on it, right? Which was like, oh, we're becoming really conservative, blah blah blah. Which is to me is like, what the fuck are you talking about? So you're telling me that throughout the 80s, at the height of Reagan conservatism, you had tons of sexuality in movies, but now at the height of, complete
Actual
woke control,
actual titties in Die Hard.
Mhm.
it's still
Actual
the
titties in Die
conservatives'
Hard.
fault that we don't have titties. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? But beyond, so it's absurd. Realistically, the reason there is no there's two real reasons, in my opinion, why there is no sexuality in movies nowadays. Right? There's a practical reason is because people are childish and immature, and PG-13 movies are the moneymaker. Right?
Yep.
And so all filmmakers are aiming for that PG-13
Mhm.
rating, where in the past they were all aiming for rated R movies. Now rated R movies have gone to straight to streaming kind of movies, and PG-13, the Marvel slop and all that is what the goal is, right? The other reason is that for the last 8 years or so, Hollywood has been terrified of being Me Too'd,
Yep.
so they're not going to fuck with
Exactly.
that shit,
Yep.
And when you do see sexuality in it, it is usually male nudity and gay sexuality or like really weird shit. A good example
Mhm.
would be that movie Saltburn, right?
Mhm.
Like there's more full frontal dick in movies today than there are women's breasts,
Yep.
which is insane if you look at historical like speaking stuff, right? But you'll have some
Mhm.
dude running around with his dick flopping and humping, a grave, and that's normal. But they're afraid to bring in a female because it's terrifying. But
Yep.
from a literature perspective, you see this a lot in the comments to that post, for example, or the comments in a lot of like literature, book writing, fiction like groups, is that there's this complete fear of like, oh, I don't want like, I don't. Why do we have to have a sex scene? It's a waste of time or whatever,
Mhm.
And to me, I find that insane. And you guys, I might be wrong, right? But
And
here's
then you'll see in the romance genre, it's even more like descriptive than it has in the past. So it's not like people aren't wanting this. It's just
right,
it has to get relegated to a very specific niche.
right, a pseudo pornography.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the reason I have a problem with this, so I am all about sex in movies and in novels and in entertainment, right? And the reason is, right, not because I'm some kind of a pervert, I might be, right? But I think that sexuality is a integral part of humanity, right?
Hmm.
Like, listen, right? If you're a dude, so much of what you do is chasing that tail, all right?
Yep.
Let's be honest here, right? Like so much of like our life, I can think of my entire teenage years are just like obsessed with like hooking up with girls and my majority of my 20s. And it's the same for women. No,
Hmm.
like whatever. We all know that like if you watch high school girls, for example, everything they do is to basically be pygmies for guys, you know? Like their entire like sociosexual like interaction is trying to get picked up by guys, and the whole thing guys do is they do it because they want to get picked up by girls, right? And
Mhm.
it's just the goddamn facts of life, because that's what life is about. Life is about hooking up, boning, having
And
children,
making more. Yeah.
and
Mhm.
making more, you know? And the real problem I have, and the reason I don't like scenes not being included, right, is because we have so much pornography. And
Mhm.
pornography, by its definition, right, even though it's real, it's not true, right?
Yep.
Pornography is fake. It is a diseased view of sexuality. It is a completely unrealistic view of human sexuality. It's
Mhm.
almost too perfect. It's too clean in a way, and it's grotesque. Nobody does that kind of stuff in real life, right?
Yep.
Because real sex, right? Real sex with somebody you care about is awkward and weird, and sometimes it sucks, and sometimes it's disappointing and stuff. So you
And
need
sometimes it's
those.
funny.
Sometimes it's funny.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're like, you had too many drinks and you rip a fart while you're doing it, you know? Like it's or sometimes you start laughing for no reason, or sometimes you just miss and like hit the bed instead or something, like, it happens, right? And or you just fall asleep before it even starts. And it's just the truth, right? And to remove that from fiction and from
Mhm.
film is a disservice to people, because it basically separates sexuality from love and from life, which is what you get
Yep.
from film and novels, and it leaves it to the realm of fake shit like pornography or pornography novels, where
Mhm.
they're just very unrealistic. And we're talking about sci-fi movies right now, right? And when people say, "Well, what do sex scenes bring to movies?" Well, let me tell you one of the best sex scenes ever. I'm going to use a movie that I think all of us have seen, right? And it's a movie that I'm sure all of us have seen. And if you haven't seen it, like, what's wrong with you? And I'm going to illustrate what's important about it. And the movie I'm talking about is Terminator, right? The first
Ah,
Terminator.
I fucking knew
I was
it.
thinking
I
about
was
that one.
thinking that too. I was
Yep.
like, that's like the most romantic fucking sci-fi scene. Um,
Right. So
and
Terminator,
it's such an effective romance scene. It sets up the sequel.
yeah,
Like, and not just because, plot stuff, but you actually want to know what happens with Sarah Connor.
right.
Yeah.
But most importantly, it doesn't just set up the sequel, it illustrates the humanity of humans, and it
Yeah.
contrasts it. So
Yep.
if you watch the movie, and I haven't seen it in a while, so I might be wrong, but I think I'm 99.9% correct about that.
I've
I'll,
seen it
I'll
pretty
look it up on
recently.
Wikipedia. The sex scene, right before the sex scene, is the famous cop station scene, the police station scene,
Yep.
where
You're
Arnold
right.
basically, the
Yeah.
Terminator demolishes and kills like
I'll
a
be back.
hundred fucking people, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
He is a machine, a death machine, right? He kills like 100 cops. It is one of the most brutal scenes in film history, right? For its sheer brutality. It's like
Oh yeah. Just
relentlessness.
drives that car right through the front and fucking
Yep.
Right,
off to the
right.
races.
So you have this inhuman monster, this inhuman machine, right? And then right after, you've got Sarah Connor and Reese. I think Reese is his name, Kyle Reese,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Calories.
Kyle
They're
Reese.
sit. They're sitting. They just escaped. They're sitting in that motel room, and he's all fucked up, and she's like, like talking, and he admits to her that like the reason he came on this mission, which is a suicide mission, because he's never going back, was because he fell in love with her by looking at a picture of her from her son,
Oh, it
and
just tugs at my heartstrings,
right,
man.
and now
Love that shit.
and then they start boning, right? And it is this intense scene where it is just sloppy and it's like damaged and messed up, but it
And
is
he's still
fucking,
wearing the homeless man pants, so
yeah,
she fucking loves him
right.
because
It is
he's got a stink.
it
I
is
love that scene so much.
right. It is a contrast between the inhumanity of the Terminator and the humanity, like, of like like life finds a way type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Even in the of even in the midst of the apocalypse,
Right, right. And then the movie
they're
goes
gonna
on and
bone.
ends, and it gives us so much gravitas and so much power, right? And if that movie did not have that sexual scene, it would
Yep.
be way less. It would be a diminished movie, right? It would,
It would definitely be like a child's, it would be far more infantilized without
right.
that scene.
And
Yeah.
that's why I think this kind of stuff is important, And sometimes, like, the other sex scenes I really enjoyed the sexuality in is like in True Detective season one. And I enjoy it because it makes you complicit in the bad guy's life, right?
Mhm.
Because there's scenes with like what's his name? Not Russ Cole, but the other guy, Marty, right? And he's cheating on his wife with Alexandria Daddario's character, and you're like, oh gosh, she's hot, but he's fucking man. His wife is cool too. And you're like, you kind of know it makes you complicit, right? And the whole point of that season is our complicity in evil or our ignoring of evil, and by
Mhm.
enjoying the sex scene or being aroused by it or titillated by it or whatever, it illustrates the complacity of everybody. You know what I mean? And like it illustrates how we allow ourselves to be corrupted, how evil is not really this boogeyman with the mask. It's this kind of low grade corruption, like a mist, like a vibe. So, anyways, that's my view on sexuality in film and movies. I
Mhm.
think it's vital, and I think that
Yep.
if we
I
do
agree.
not engage in real you know, it needs to be real, right?
Yep.
And otherwise, we have given that ground to the pornographers and to the perverts and the weirdos, and we need
Mhm.
to write the damn sex scenes. What do you think,
Well,
Fisto?
hey,
Well,
here's a
I mean,
thought.
I've
Just
put my money where my mouth is. I don't know, but
Right, right. You know what? Was there a sex scene in Palace? I don't know. Was there a
yeah,
sex?
there was.
Okay, there
And
was. You're right.
there's
Yeah,
yeah, and my other books. Like I can't help myself. I love romance. I'm a goyle,
yeah.
Can't help it.
I love
I was
romance
thinking
too.
I was thinking back to I was thinking back to some of our earlier episodes last season about cyberpunk, and I was thinking about how in Cyberpunk 2077, I think sexuality was done really
Oh,
well.
absolutely.
And
Mhm.
then in Cyberpunk Edge Runners, it plays a key role also. The relationship between the two protagonists is like the key, it's the key thing, one of the key things. And you're right. Like in Cyberpunk 2077, it just that's of course. Yeah, I mean naturally this is out there. Whether it's a joy toy sitting on the side of the road or it's one of the protagonist love interests in the game itself where you can actually they bother to develop the relationship, which is what makes it work. It's like, oh, well, of course these two get together because look at everything, look at the shared experience they've had. This is how it
Mhm.
works in the real world, you
N-
know?
Yep.
Never in a video game have
Good
I
stuff.
ever cared about taking my girlfriend out on a date as much as I cared about in. I mean, fucking. I haven't played Cyberpunk in like 2 months now, and I miss Judy, man.
Yeah, man.
Right?
Pan Am Palmer, baby.
No,
Let's go. Let's go
I feel
riding
like
through the desert.
I feel like if I played another like playthrough and like I'd feel like I would be cheating on Judy if I so I'm basically stuck playing a female character and being a lesbian. I
No, man. Come
can't
to the Pan Am side. Come to the Pan Am
I
side.
can't, like I just
Experience the joy.
like my little art hoe. I
My
can't
little art hoe.
I can't do that. Plus that's my
Uh,
wife's name too, so I gotta
oh, well.
I'm stuck. But no, I mean, yeah, they did a fantastic job in that, right? They did a
Yep.
fantastic job. And that's just like Terminator. It's a crapsack world. It's a depressing, shitty world. And then these characters humanize it by falling in love. And, even if it's temporary, even if it all goes to
You know,
shit at the end, it's
it's
important.
it's funny to me what changed because you brought up Marvel slop earlier, and even the
Yep.
early Marvel movies had sexuality in it. I mean, Tony Stark's freaking ripping it through women, like forget about it. There's even a few scenes where like, yeah, it's built up for comedic effect, but they're still in there. Like you recognize that, like, yeah, this guy freaking gets it. Well done. But
The
like,
Right.
freaking
what
original
changed it?
Spider-Man
What
movies.
changed? Yeah, exactly. What
The
changed?
upside down kiss. All that.
Yeah, right,
Yep.
exactly. I mean, MJ and Peter Parker, that's like
Mhm.
key to the whole thing, you
Right,
know?
and we're like we're like post-sexual. We're living in a post-sexual world where not
Yet
only
hypersexual at the same time.
yes, but completely fake and
Yeah.
pornographic.
Commodified
Yep.
sexual
Right.
is what it
Hmm.
is.
It's we're living in a
Sex is a
world,
commodify. You go here to get the sex, you go here to get the friendship
Yep.
instead
right,
of no, it's all the same.
right, and that's what I mean. You know, you're gonna read the Brothers Karamazov, and look, man, at the core of that novel is a hot slutty Russian girl named Grushenka. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
She's the one that causes the brain fever for everybody, you know?
Hmm.
And that's because that's what's at the core of life, man. All right?
Hmm.
The
Because
brain fever.
fundamentally everything we do is for for that, for your
Yep.
children
Yes.
to procreate, right? We are animals that need to procreate, and it's love, and we need to do that. And
Hmm.
I feel like our art, right? I mean, you look at art throughout the year, the centuries, very sexual, always been very sexual,
Yeah.
like come on, all right?
Hmm.
Most Renaissance art that all these like kind of right-wing bros on Twitter, are
Hmm.
posting as like we should return to this, right? Look, most of that art was for rich dude spank banks, okay? Like
Yep.
let's be honest here. If you know the history of Renaissance art, so much of it, like the Venus and all the stuff, were basically highbrow pornography in a way, right? And it's because that's what humans do, man. We meet
Yep.
each other, we fall in love, we fall in lust, we bang, we kill each other over it, and we do all this
Hmm.
stuff. And
Well, that's why I've always been fascinated by pre-code Hollywood,
right,
because pre-code Hollywood showed that like all sorts of facets of humanity. The first female orgasm on screen was pre-code.
right,
Not recent. We're talking like early 1930s. And yeah, it's post Hays Code Hollywood just really, it went even almost like corny because you couldn't show the true aspects of humanity. Do we want to, like, are we living through another Hays Code right now without
we are,
giving it a label?
yeah,
You know?
we are. We're living through it. Well, maybe
The
it's coming to
derp
an
code.
end, but yeah,
Mhm.
it's the woke code,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
Yeah.
where humans can't be humans. They can't be dirty. They can't be they can't be, for all the talk of like modern feminists about, allowing women to speak their truth. Well, they really don't, because there's, women are raunchy and bad, and sometimes they do fucked up shit, and sometimes they do want the bad dude, and sometimes the bad dude is, I don't know, you know what I mean? Could a
Women are
novel
freaking gross. I don't know if you guys knew this, but women are actually disgusting.
you guys never clean up after yourselves, man.
We're
Like
fucking nasty.
bedrooms. Every girlfriend I've ever had, I'd go to her house. I'm like, Jesus Christ, you live like this, like woman,
Yeah.
like I'm like constantly picking up shit after my wife, but just joking. I'm sorry.
It's true though.
Don't divorce me. Um,
It's
but
true.
yeah,
My husband
like,
has to clean after
And
me.
yet still smash. And yet still smash.
And
yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. Yeah.
we can't help it, right?
Curious.
We're
Curious.
broken.
Curious.
Yeah.
You know what my favorite sex scene in any movie is actually? It's from
No, what's that?
Quentin Tarantino's Jackie Brown with
Oh, jeez.
Robert De Niro and Bridget Fonda, which is like all 15 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that one, Lisa?
Actually, Jackie Brown's one of the ones I haven't seen.
So that's the best Quentin
Yeah.
Tarantino movie in my opinion. And
I've heard that. Yep. I
yeah,
haven't seen every single
and
one
it's
of his
like
movies.
she's
I
all
haven't seen
like,
Jackie Brown. I haven't seen this is gonna shock you. I still haven't seen Kill Bill.
I mean that's
I
an
still,
okay movie. It's
yeah,
visually
I know, but like
interesting.
it came out. What year did that come out? So I was in film school 2005, 2006.
Around that time,
And so like I didn't see it almost like out of spite, and I just still haven't seen it. So what the fucking year did that come out? I'm gonna look that up. I know
it,
that people were still talking about it when I was in class. It pissed me off because they wouldn't shut up about it. Kill Bill. Let's see what the IMDb says.
I'm trying to
2003,
think.
yeah. So it had like just come out. I hadn't seen it yet, and then I was in film school, and like all these film school guys just wouldn't stop fucking masturbating over this movie. So I just couldn't watch it.
you're just like
It's
no, you're
just
just like out of
I,
spite.
I
You're
was
like
so
no,
saturated by it. So
no.
like I know everything about the movie, but I've never actually watched it.
It's a
Yeah.
comic book
You know
movie.
what?
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been sitting here thinking and listening. I think my favorite scene, the end of Fifth Element.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Perfect.
I just watched
Just
that recently.
Mhm.
yeah, dude, just nailed it. Pun
Like
intended.
if they made that movie today, she'd be wearing full body
Oh
armor the whole
God.
time. You know,
Yeah,
like
it'd be so
Well,
bad. No,
they were
the roles would be reversed.
yeah,
yeah. Well, they filmed it too close to the original French comics from the 70s that it was based off of. She's wearing just like the strips of cloth or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right. I also liked in David Lynch's what's called Mulholland Drive. There's a pretty good lesbian sex scene that's really out there
God.
and kind of deranged a bit that I really like.
It was so nice to see Twin Peaks: The Return with proper sex scenes in it.
Right,
Mhm.
Just
right.
oh my gosh, I was so happy that like he could just do whatever the hell he wanted.
Well,
Yeah.
so
They were all
Have you
it was
seen
all
Mulholland
great.
Drive?
Not yet, not yet. That's on the
Okay,
list.
that's on the list. That should be an episode. In Mulholland Drive, it's the same. It's the same. What's her name from Twin Peaks: The Return? Dougie's wife. What the hell's her name?
Oh, Naomi Watts.
Naomi Watts is the main character in Mulholland Drive, and
Nice.
she's a very interesting character. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. So I think that we should read books, share it with
Mhm.
people, hand them out as much as possible, do these
Yeah, just read
podcasts,
the good stuff. Read the
read
good
the good
stuff.
stuff,
It's all out
and
there.
write sex scenes in our books because
Yeah.
write real sex scenes. Okay,
And then get accused of writing for the male gaze.
you know what? You know what? Write
Yeah.
all kinds of sex scenes. Write
Like,
gay sex scenes,
okay.
straight sex scenes. You know,
Yeah,
Yeah.
just you know what?
It's
Just
just so
because you
funny
said
to
male
me.
gaze, I'm just gonna write more. I'm just gonna
I'm
do more of them now because it pisses you
That's
off.
exactly what I did, as a matter of fact.
I think
Yes.
my next novel,
Just so everybody's prepared.
my
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
novel is going to have like 10 gay sex scenes. All right, just
Yeah, do it.
because you know what, I want to. You know what I mean?
Hey,
You know what I
Alex,
love about art?
Alex,
Pissing off as much people as possible.
Right, me
As
too.
many people that could be pissed off as possible is it's a goal to aspire to.
Right. All right.
paid content idea. We can read our favorite sex scenes.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, in like
Let's
sultry
go.
voice with a cigarette. You know,
Fisto Asmere, here we go.
they
Yeah.
Whatever that
get,
voice thing
we
is.
get banned off the internet for forever. You know, I
We'll
think
break
it
the
might
internet. That's what it'll be. It'll be too
too
hot
far.
for TV. Too
Yeah.
hot for TV.
So the other thing I want to talk about, I'm gonna skip topics now. We're done with the sex scenes, right? We're gonna talk about some asexual stuff now. All right.
All right.
All right.
I guess.
So okay, so I'm a millennial. Are we all millennials here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, we're all millennials here. I'm a elder millennial, I guess, because I was born in
Hey.
1983. That's me and you,
81,
right?
baby.
Okay, so
Least
we're the
Oh, I'm the
borderline.
youngest then.
Yeah,
I'm the
Okay.
elder. Yes.
and I
My
feel
goal
like
in life. Sorry.
listen, I feel
Just
like
real quick,
we're
my
getting
goal in
some.
life. No,
Go ahead, Fred. Go ahead.
I just real quick. One of my goals in life is to be one of the first millennials to sit on his porch with a shotgun and yell at kids to get off his lawn. That's one of my life. Like
I'm
long-term
sure you
goals.
probably.
It's probably been done.
Yeah, I'm sure Lisa's
Oh.
already done it.
But
she's
as like
seen-
a proper old man, though, that's the thing.
Oh, as an old man. Okay, yeah.
Yes,
you know,
as a proper old
Get a
man.
nice porch. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like we're taking a lot of heat here. Okay. I feel like we're letting people disrespect our generation a little bit too much. All right. Like I think Gen Xers are a little bit full of themselves. And well, we all hate boomers, right? And then we're getting shit on by Gen Z guys, you know? And you
Yeah.
know what? I'm just not gonna stand by it. And one of the things I wanna defend here, right, is hipsters. All right. And listen, you're probably just shat yourself. You're like hipsters. All right. Listen.
Well, gotta go, guys. Gonna go ahead and log off.
Well,
real quick.
we all have to be a
See
little
y'all.
bit self-aware, and I know for like I collect vinyl records. I use a fucking typewriter. Like, hello, you know.
Right. So
I'm over here.
hipsters get a bad rap, right?
Yeah.
You know, they're a bunch of flannel wearing or whatever. But you know what? I'm sorry that liking things is cool, right?
Yeah.
Is that all a hipster is? Just somebody with like tastes and like preferences?
To a certain
And
degree.
Okay.
they're just pretty hard on those
hipsters,
preferences.
hipsters have
It started off as ironic liking of things because you weren't allowed to actually like a thing, so you had to like it
Gen
ironically,
X, right? Gen X
Oh,
can't
is that
like
Gen X?
anything.
Oh, okay.
Gen Xers are like, you know, Daria's, right? Even
Yeah.
though Daria
Right.
is technically a millennial, by her, I think I just saw a huge, thing on it where I think she's like 42 years old
Yeah.
by standards today. So she's one of us, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
she was a product of Gen X, like MTV and stuff. But Gen
right.
Xers are, you're too fucking cool. You like
Yeah.
oh, you like goth music? Of course you do, faggot. Like that's kind of like
Yeah.
the mindset of
Okay.
Gen Xers. You like something? Oh, of
You're
course you.
not allowed to unironically like something.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
I see.
you
Okay.
like stuff, right? Oh, you're so lame. You do
Yeah.
stuff. Well, hipsters kind of like said no to that, right? And one of the things, for all their ills, I guess I maybe would be considered. I mean, shit, I used to make fun of hipster types when I was growing, when I was of age, right? But
Hmm.
one of the things that hipster did bring is they brought a love of quality to things, right?
Yeah.
And yes, there's a branch of hipsters that was the video game Funko Pop guys. That's a branch of millennialism, right? And those guys are pathetic losers, right? And I hate them. But
We can agree
remember,
on that. Yeah.
hipsters brought us freaking craft beer, right? Like
Mm,
Yep.
the neighborhood I used to hang out in used to be a ghetto, right? And then it got gentrified by hipsters, right? It became 4th Street, and all of a sudden we have a bunch of bars that sell microbrews, and
Hmm.
there's skate shops, and it's a bunch of like young 20-year-olds walking around enjoying like avocado toast, which is delicious by the way, and like lobster tacos instead of like Bud Light slop, right? And
Hmm.
all those neighborhoods like really brought quality back into things, right? Hipsters got into things like, okay, what is craft beer bad, guys? Because I like craft beer, all right? I like beer that's
Hmm.
made locally. That's all I
Yeah.
drink. I drink beer made here in South Carolina by breweries down the street made
Yeah.
by fucking hipsters. And hipsters pioneered that stuff, right? Same thing with like small produce stuff and farmers markets, hipsters kind of adopted that from like the hippies and made it better and cooler. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry that hipsters like riding bicycles. Okay, I'm sorry that they like hiking and all the fun stuff that I
Like an
like doing.
exercise. The hell.
Oh,
Yeah.
my bad,
yeah.
right? So, you know what? It's like I don't want to go back to the world of, the Gen Xers where the bars all they had were like, Bud Light, Miller Light, and some other fucking, slot beer, and everything was a sports bar, right? I like the
Hmm.
fact that hipster neighborhoods had bars that you could just hang out and have a conversation and I don't know, like play some pool and get drunk on some good like a IPA or a stout, for example. And there's some like a band playing like folk music on their guitars and stuff. That's way cooler than a fucking sports bar with like retards at. So you
Hmm.
Yeah,
know what?
listening to Journey for the thousandth time.
Right. And I like the local movement, that hipsters really like. It really was pioneered by Gen Xers in the 90s. It started there, but really got adopted by that our generation where we like to eat at local restaurants. We like to eat at places owned by guys in our neighborhood. We actually started caring about our neighborhoods in an urban kind of environment. And you saw that in a lot of the big cities. And that was, people go, oh, Silver Lake, it's so much hipsters. Well, you know what? Silver Lake was fucking cool when it was like a big deal, right? Because it was cool to go to places. I remember
Rule of
uh,
cool.
there was a store in Long Beach on 4th Street, and 4th Street was like hipster row basically in Long Beach, and it was a roller skate store. This girl, total like hipster chick, like alt girl, she was like a roller derby girl, and she started her own like skate shop, and all she sold was like nice, like kind of like those like high quality roller skates. And
Hmm.
all these people started roller skating in the neighborhood. It was really freaking cool. And it was cool to do that kind of stuff. Like, why not? What's bad about that? Gen Xers, what the hell did you do? You know? And then Gen Zers, you guys don't even fucking leave the house. So what
Hmm.
what are we doing here,
Yeah.
right? The same people that, if I was a hipster for anything, I was a wine hipster. Okay. I enjoyed wine. All right. And I had friends. I had a friend that she actually she was a waitress and then studied like to become a sommelier under this like nice restaurant, and she opened
Hmm.
her own wine bar next to a movie theater, and it was the hipsterest thing ever. The movie theater played a bunch of like vintage movies, and she had this little
Hmm.
wine bar, and everybody would go and would have wine, and she'd talk about it, and it'd be just this hipstery dork thing. But it was cool. It was fun, right? And it was
Hmm.
cool to like stuff like that. And that is something that, like, unironically, our generation did. Which,
You know,
go ahead.
sorry, just all this stuff is making me think because I'm going into like the history and politics angle, and it's just like I wonder if you're going to have a bunch of millennials. Like you kind of see this. Look at who's vice president, who's going to be vice president.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna have a bunch of guys show up, and they're just gonna be like, all right, we're just gonna fucking fix this shit. All right, like we've been here. We graduated, life was looking great. Then 9/11 happens, and everything goes to shit, and y'all screw the pooch for 25 years. All right, just get out of the way.
Right.
Here we go. I mean, I look at my own life and like I spent 20 years of it, doing insurance and like working on all this stuff, and now I'm actually doing the thing I was always meant to do. And I look at all the bullshit that's out there, and it's all exhausted, and
Yep.
there's nothing in my way. There's really not. Like I mean, I go to some of the professional development stuff, and like see, I start to see some of the things that people complain about in education. I'm just like, there's no energy left there anymore. There's no
Right.
vitality. It's a
Yep.
corpse, and I'm just gonna beat it to death. I'm just gonna beat it with a stick. Like that horse is getting turned into a glue factory. All
Right.
right. Like
Yep.
it's like, oh, we have such an opportunity. And then as millennials, like I said earlier, we've got to be the people that show the younger folk what is really good in life. I mean, we get to decide what's good in life to
Right.
them, right?
Right. We
And you know
do.
what it
Yep.
is? To
Mhm.
cross your enemies and see them through, like that's what we're gonna
Yeah.
do. We're gonna be like,
Right.
guys, you got no, the world is gonna be your oyster. The world's
Yeah.
gonna be just take it all.
Right.
Take all
What
of it. And
what's
don't
good
let
in
anybody
life
stop you.
is avocado toast and IPA, bro.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's what's really fun
Avocado toast,
about
IPA, and the lamentation of the women.
That's right.
yeah. But yeah, that's what's really fun about having kids. And
Yeah.
because I can share with my children like all my quirky interests and
Oh,
like
I know.
encourage them to like, yeah, it's okay to be, reading a book, like it's I show them the movies that I used to love when I was little and um there's
My
a lot of TV shows that their friends watch, but I don't even have cable. All
yeah,
I have is what I have on disc or what's available on streaming. And so, they're kind of almost growing up in like a kind of time vortex. I don't discourage them from watching new stuff, but every once in a while I'll be like, "Hey, there's this new show. Do you want to?" And they're just like not interested in it. So, but yeah, having kids has been really, really cool, not just because I get to expose them to like cool stuff that's really fun, but I also get to watch like firsthand what Gen Alpha is like doing, like the zeitgeist of Gen Alpha, and it's really fascinating stuff.
Right.
yeah. I
That
can't
is
wait.
actually
Sorry,
that's
go ahead.
the boon of being a parent, right?
Yeah.
Because in a way, as a parent, and first of all, I'm going to concede the fact that you have it so much more difficult than I do because you are raising males in a hostile environment for them. All right. I have it easy. I have a girl and the world is geared towards her. All right. It's like it's easy to find everything for her, like
Hmm.
everything, like every store I go to, every movie that comes out is for her, like,
Yeah.
there's nothing for young males. It's like they've been
Hmm.
shut out and ignored completely, right? But so, your task is much more difficult than mine. But I also like feel that way because in a way, I am reliving kind of life again, and it allows me
Yeah.
to stay young in a way. Like
Hmm.
I'm not like I can, I know about Fortnite stuff, and I can tell you about some of the nonsense that, like, she's only in first grade, but they're already into nonsense and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is that they're into a lot of stuff. I mean, they still play Pokemon cards, like it's still a big thing. It's
Oh
like
yeah. Yeah.
it's
Pokemon's still
crazy.
really big up here too. Yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff, and I get to like relive like some of my childhood by going, "Oh, I know that. Like,
Mhm.
let me tell you about this.
Yeah.
Um,
Back in my day, there was only 150
uh,
Pokemon. Yeah.
what is this class?
Back in my
Yeah.
day, you could actually collect them all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. Yeah, I never played Pokemon, guys. I was too old for
I,
it. I missed it by a little bit. I did
yeah,
play some Magic the Gathering, but never Pokemon.
I'm
Um,
I never actually played Pokemon. I watched the show. I never had a Game Boy, so I just was able to watch my friend play it on her Game Boy,
Yeah, I
but
never had one
I
either. I
never had.
missed Pokemon and I missed Pokemon and I missed Harry Potter, by being a little bit too old for it. Like by the time like Pokemon and Harry Potter became a thing,
Yeah.
I was like seventh, eighth grade going into high school, and I
Yeah.
was already obsessed with like punk
Yeah, I
rock and
missed that.
like and girls
Yeah.
and stuff. Like I was like that's what I cared about. I was like, oh, girlfriends. Like I'm
Yeah.
not playing Pokemon and stuff. I never saw any of the Harry Potter movies until like last year for the first time.
I think I was talking about this in a
I saw one of them a
previous
while
one.
ago, but
How I just barely missed basically being forced to read Harry Potter, and I still have not read a single one, and I haven't watched any of the movies.
I've
It
never
was
read them.
because, yeah, I was visiting my grandmother, and she took me to the library, and she asked the librarian, "I hear that there's a really popular book. Do you have any copies of Harry Potter and the whatever the first one is?" And they didn't have any so I ended up picking my
actually,
own book.
at
Otherwise, I
least
would have been forced to read it because there was nothing to do at her house. She didn't even have a TV.
You're like,
Very
I
so that
read.
boring.
actually,
So
Lisa,
instead,
that
I got
actually
Crime and
sounds.
Punishment, and
I got I
fucking
remember the
here I
exact book
am.
I took out. Actually, that was I during that visit I also read all of Shakespeare's sonnets. I was like 13, 12, 13.
Sad
That
girl.
that
Yeah.
sounded like a Harry Potter novel. Harry Potter and whatever the name of the first one was.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
First Harry
No,
Potter.
I was reading Shakespeare instead. I was
Whoa.
way
Yeah.
too cool for the
So
Harry Potter
actually, I
books. Yeah.
believe it had two names. I believe that its original title was Harry Potter and the Alchemist Stone.
Philosopher's Stone, yeah,
Philosopher's
you're ringing a
Philosopher's
Stone,
bell.
Stone.
right?
Yeah,
And
Philosopher's
then when it was brought
that's
to
the
the
gay
States, it was
English
called
name.
the Sorcerer's
The
Stone.
Right.
Sorcerer's
Sorcerer's
Stone,
Stone, yeah.
because yeah, we don't do metric over here. All
Yeah,
right.
we were too stupid to understand what
Sorcerers, we do English system over
Yeah.
for like
here.
philosopher.
Yeah.
What is?
That sounds metric.
Yeah,
That sounds
Yeah.
like metric.
that
I'm
sounds
gonna
Actually,
stick
I
it
was
to my
European.
just
gun.
I was just talking with someone on Substack about what freaking movie was it now? There was a recent Pride and Prejudice. Okay. So the in early 2000s there was another adaptation of Pride and Prejudice, and the British version has a different ending than the American version because when they brought it to the States, they thought the audience would be too stupid to figure out if they actually get married after the end of the movie, so they changed the ending to make it more obvious that
Oh, come
they
on.
get married. I'm assuming everybody here is familiar with Pride and Prejudice.
Yes.
So, that fucking blew me away. Because in Canada we get the British version. I've never seen the American ending, so that I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, yeah. Pride and Prejudice. They
I
changed the
don't
ending of it.
I don't watch or read books about women, okay? According to Substack
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
Even though I actually really liked the latest Emma that came out recently, like 2, 3 years ago, with
I haven't seen that one.
Anna Taylor-Joy is actually pretty good. I enjoyed that one a lot. Um, yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's fun doing this, right? Watch a lot of
Yeah.
anime. I did go see Moana, which was garbage. It was a horrible movie. Like it was not
My
very good.
my wife just watched the new Beetlejuice, and she's pretty, she's pretty amicable, right? Like
Right.
there's a lot, like you've really got to be trash
So
to
it's the
get a
same thing
rise
with my
out of her.
wife.
To get a rise out of her, and she's like, honey, this is what did they do to my boy? Like that's basically her response. Because like the original
I'm not
Beetlejuice,
watching this
nah,
second one. I'm
just
not.
There was one
look,
good scene in it.
just rewatch the
No.
original.
Yeah.
It's
No, I wanted to
oh, just
be
forget it.
Lydia in Beetlejuice, okay? I'm
I
not
wanted to
watching the
bang
sequel.
Lydia in Beetlejuice. All
I,
right,
I
Yeah.
want.
like the OG. That was my
Yeah.
first celebrity crush. All right, just straight up. Like
Yeah.
when Winona Ryder popped up in Star Trek, like years later, I was like, ooh, I remember this feeling.
Yeah.
Hey there, like I'm not even gonna pretend.
I
Like,
also wanted to be Lydia and
yeah,
bang
dude,
Lydia at the
you wanted to
same
be
time.
Lydia
Yeah.
and bang Lydia. All
Yeah.
right,
Well, I don't know
okay, all
what that
right,
says
Mister.
about me, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm not
yeah,
gonna
we can
worry.
have this
Listen.
psychosexual analysis of
Yeah.
that concept
Hey, another
later.
paid episode
Lie,
idea.
lie
Yeah.
down
There
on
you
the couch,
go. There
please.
you go.
Like,
Another paid
Yeah.
episode idea. There we go,
yeah.
boys.
Yeah.
Uh, 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 you
Well,
know,
hey, to
um,
turn it real quick, something I wanted to share because you guys are both parents.
Yep.
So I'm hoping to be a parent sooner rather than later. And
you gotta have sex with it.
yeah,
Just
I know how
just in case you didn't
Get
know.
on it.
I know how it works, Dad. All right, I know how it works. But it's funny to me because like I think about like what we were talking about the kids that we're gonna raise. I'm just
Mhm.
my wife and I both look at each other and we're like, our kids are gonna be so fucking bonkers. They're gonna be it's gonna be Fisto the musical. right? The Broadway
Oh
musical.
my,
Like if you can
my
imagine
kids.
just the shit I do with just, like Phantom of the Opera. Like I don't even know, like whatever. Just I can't wait.
Here's
It's gonna
here's
be
how it's gonna be.
bonkers.
You will uh either have children that will butt heads with you all the time, and you must respect them for that. Okay,
Hmm.
because that proves that they are actually thinking about shit.
That's
Oh
my
yeah, bring it on, assholes.
Or
Let's go.
actually, you know what? I can't think of an alternative. They'll probably have kids that you butt heads all the time.
Oh, I'm gonna butt
Like
heads with them.
my oldest, yeah. I joke all the time with him. I'm like, "Oh, you're such a smart ass. Where do you get it from?" He's like, "I get it from you, mom." So I only have myself to blame.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That'll be fun.
a good example of how what my life as a parent is, I walked downstairs yesterday, and my daughter and my wife are both fighting off like this cruddy virus. So I kept her home
Mhm.
from school for the last 3 days because she broke out in hives from like a viral hives, and I walked downstairs. And I hear her like yelling, and I'm like, "What is she doing?" Well, she's like talking. She's just talking smack, is what she's doing. This is a 6-year-old, and she's talking 6-year-old smack, right? And I walked in and I looked
Girl
at
smack.
she's sitting on the couch, right? So she's sitting on the couch wrapped in blankets because she's got a cold, and she's like shirtless and like in her underwear, like basically wrapped in blankets, bouncing around like a hobo creature, holding a Xbox controller, smoking fools on Fortnite, right? And talking smack, right? At the TV. And she's
Mhm.
just like headshotting and like getting like crown after crown after crown. I'm watching her just demolish people on like Fortnite, right? And she's
Mhm.
winning, like, and I'm like, I'm always like, man, I wonder if there's like an adult dude on the other end of that, playing there,
Mhm.
getting headshotted and losing a match. And if he could imagine that he just lost to like this diseased like 6-year-old child in her underwear, yelling at her
Yeah.
screen while she's like freaking headshotting at them, like
Yep.
the
You just
absurdity of
got
that
killed by an
picture.
infirm 6-year-old.
Yeah, exactly, and I'm like, but yeah, it's cool that like a lot of girls are really into like gaming now and stuff, and all the friends all have little Fortnite clubs and stuff, and
Mhm.
Fortnite's pretty cool. I'm sorry, Gen Z, I too like Fortnite.
Mhm.
Hello, kids,
Yeah. Hello,
Hello,
fellow.
fellow
hello, fellow
children.
Yeah.
children, or hello,
Yeah.
fellow.
I too dab on the
I
Fortnites.
too dabble with
Yeah.
Midas as my main skin.
Yeah.
And that only Fortnite nerds will get that. But
I don't. I have no idea.
yeah, you shouldn't. It's not good.
Good. All right.
It's a
I'm gonna drop my kids into like Wolfenstein and Doom. I'll be like, here you go, the
We're
granddad.
we're we're Doom House over here.
Doom,
right.
House Doom.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
approve.
they play Doom a
Rip
lot.
and
Yeah.
tear, rip and tear.
We're
Yeah.
just like I'm just like you just play
My
Cyberpunk.
my youngest was Doom guy for Halloween, not
Oh,
last
oh,
year, but the year before. Yeah. Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, I let my kid play Grand Theft Auto for a little bit, and I was like, oh, maybe
Nice.
this is a bad idea. I was like, oh, I don't know, like I don't know, But no, she doesn't get it, so it's whatever. She doesn't get any of the
Mhm.
jokes. But now she can read, so I like when she couldn't read, like I would let her play like Red Dead Redemption 2, and
Mhm.
she didn't really get a lot of like the storyline because she couldn't read. But now that she knows how to read, I'm always like, ugh, like
Yep.
she somehow magically like jumped in reading like overnight, like her ability to
Mhm.
read. And we were like all laying in bed, and I was like reading a book, and she was like playing on her tablet or whatever, like fucking Roblox or something. And my wife was reading some like raunchy romance Christmas novel about like
Oh
some
no.
some crazy like book about like it's like the Nutcracker, but like
Oh no.
it's slutty and
The
I don't know.
Nutcracker, but it's the Nutcracker.
But
All
basically,
right.
right? And she's just
Yeah, all right.
laughing
I
the whole
get it.
time.
Dear.
Yeah.
And my
The
daughter
puns write
like
themselves.
she like leans over and looks at her Kindle and like starts reading it. And my wife's like, "Oh no, 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 no! Reading is great, but
Yeah.
not this, right? You're not
Yeah.
reading this." Like, and I was like, "Yeah, I've got to be careful now. We can't talk in code anymore." Remember, I'm sure you remember when your kids were young, you used to be able to spell things out that they didn't understand. Can't do it
It
anymore.
was very, very brief. Like both my kids
Oh
are
no.
really precocious with reading, so
Yeah,
like it was very brief.
yeah. So is mine.
They were
I,
crawling around.
But the
Yeah.
first word she ever like learned how to spell, I think, and she was so proud of telling me was she's like, Dad, Fuck. I'm like, damn it, what the like I'm like,
Taught her
geez,
that.
come
Perfect.
on, man. I look at my wife, I'm like, come on, like You know?
All right, kids, we're gonna learn how to spell a word here. There's two words. All right, first one is Fuckretart.
Right. And like we're like
Let's
I had to
go.
sit down and have a talk with her.
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, I know just let you know that we do things differently in this house compared to other parents, and some of the stuff might not fly to other people, and they might be, kind of weird about it. Like
Hmm.
maybe you shouldn't tell like your friends that you play Grand Theft Auto. Just how about we don't do that?
Yep.
Like we'll
Yep.
just keep that in the deal. If you don't want to go live in an orphanage,
Yeah.
right?
You gotta make sure your friends are cool. You gotta make sure they're cool
Hmm.
enough
Yeah,
for Grand
they
Theft
gotta be
Auto.
cool
Yeah.
first, right? Like
They
you can
gotta
Yeah.
be
tell
cool. They gotta be
you can
cool.
tell these
Yeah.
kids that
Don't make
because I
friends
know,
with narcs for one.
yeah,
Yeah, right.
No,
Yeah,
no snitches, no
yeah,
narcs.
like
yeah.
Yeah.
Stitches
like
get stitches get stitches. You gotta
like
remember
Jimmy's
that,
Yeah.
parents,
kids.
they're cool, man. They like they let him play Call of Duty all night also. But
Yeah.
not
So like
Lisa's.
so like when somebody in Grand Theft Auto betrays you and you have to take them out. Yeah, it's like that, but in real life.
Right,
Yeah.
traitors, man. You gotta teach them. I do that.
You gotta teach
Like
them respect.
I tell her stories every night. She really likes me to tell her stories, and I actually find that really fun to do. So we read every night, and then she wants me to tell her a story, and all she ever wants is like horror stories. And she's gotten to the point where now she like writes my stories for me. So I'm telling her stories, and I was telling her a story about this dude that went to like his party. She's like, "Dad, let me guess. They're all dead. They're just corpses, and there's like a little computer box inside their flesh that like makes it sound like they're alive, but they're really dead." I'm like, where the
That's
fuck do
pretty
you
cool.
get this shit?
Your
Like,
daughter just invented the Borg.
yeah,
Well done.
basically,
Yeah.
Well
I'm
done.
like, I'm like, uh, no, that wasn't what was gonna happen. That's actually pretty cool. And my wife's like, what the? I'm like, what?
Write these ideas.
I'm
Write
like,
these ideas down, Alex.
I'm like,
Write
hey,
these ideas down.
let's not talk about that at school, okay?
Yeah.
It's like let's leave the flesh corpses with the music boxes installed in their throats, like to after school. All right, guys. So we've hit a good 2 hour mark. What do you guys got going, right? So I know we talked about the podcast. We're expanding. We got an awesome fucking guest next week, right? So if you're listening to this week, next week we got. You guys ready for it? It's going to be
Yeah.
Brad Kelly from the Art of Darkness podcast, right?
Ooh.
And he is also the writer of a awesome novel called House of Sleep. He has a new novel coming. Dude, I'm excited. I've been a fan of the Art of Darkness podcast forever.
That's really cool.
It's the one podcast I've listened to every single episode. And Vista, you saw the list of all the guests coming up in the next few weeks.
Yes.
They're all
Very
awesome
excited.
people. I'm excited. We got Yakubi and Abe himself coming. We got
That
all
one's
kinds of
gonna,
dudes.
that one's gonna be fun. I'm
Yeah,
looking
we
forward
got
to that.
so many stuff. We got to get John Carter of Mars himself up here one of
Yeah.
these
Yeah,
days.
we gotta get that boy up in
You
here.
know
For
what?
sure.
So I've invited him, but the reason we haven't had him on is because there's this book I want to talk to him about, and I haven't finished reading it yet. And I feel like if I don't read this book, he's just gonna he's gonna talk circles around me because the guy knows how to freaking write. And I feel like I would be at a intellectual disadvantage. I need to be up to
Yeah.
par so I can have a good conversation with him. So I got to finish a few
Yeah,
books.
I think I'm
Mhm.
looking back at the list. Librarian of Solano,
Oh yeah.
Carter, and Dave Green. Those are gonna be the episodes where I'm just like, and I'm so out of my fucking depth.
Yeah, I
And
still
that's
have to
all right.
invite. I still have to
Mhm.
invite Dave.
But
He needs
that's
to
all
reply back
right.
to me. I gotta
Oh,
send,
really?
yeah,
Spoilers.
I've been sorry. I've been meaning to send him an email. Hey, Dave, if you're listening to this, I know you read my Substack sometimes. Uh, yeah, I know.
Fisto, shut up, shut
I
up.
talked. I talked to him about it, and he said yes. And I kind of dropped the ball because I was like, it was like right before November and stuff, and I was like, oh, a lot of these guys that like are like heavy duty, like top tier guys. I always feel like I need to be prepared,
Yeah,
man. And like today, like I had all these cool stuff
yeah.
planned, and then my toilet,
Assigning me homework.
yeah, my toilet flooded, and it poured water into my living room below,
Oh
and I had
no.
to go rent all in the 2 hours right before recording. So that's kind of why I like to be prepared. And every single time I'm prepared, it turns into a giant fucking shit show. And then somebody tries to cancel me on
Yeah.
Substack. But you've got novels coming out, Lisa. What do you got?
Okay, well, I mean, Palace has been out. The Highwayman Kennedy Thornwick. I gotta remember that not everybody knows who I am and they don't know my short forms for things. Uh, that novel's out. And then next year, I have another book coming out called The Ghosts of Tyros Cole, and it is right now out with ARC readers, and I'm very excited to see their thoughts. I'm thinking probably February or early March. I
Awesome.
don't have we're almost
How many sex scenes in that one? That's
the
asking for
most out of
a
all
friend.
three. Let's just put it
Okay.
that way. I will say though that it is it's not raunchy. It's not like lewd.
Tasteful,
But
tasteful,
okay,
and wholesome.
I won't call it a romance because it isn't a capital R romance, but it is a planetary romance, heavy on the romance. So, but yeah, there's lots of swashbuckling adventure and all that fun stuff too. So,
I enjoy all that
um,
swashbuckling. I still need to
oh yeah,
read your second book. I loved Palace, and I haven't gotten around to the other one. I've been kind of in a shitty mood of I haven't read a lot of fiction lately, so I need to catch
yeah.
up.
No, I get that. I'm actually in a huge reading slump right now. I looked at my Goodreads, like Goodreads has that challenge, and I'm
Yeah.
like, it's like 19 books
Oh,
behind
it's
schedule. I'm like,
that,
oh my
that
God.
that's me too. For
Yeah.
the last like 7 years, that's the only thing I use
Mhm.
Goodreads for is that stupid challenge because it helps me
Yeah.
track when I read.
Track what you're reading. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I'm like 70, 70, 60, 60.
Mhm.
And then this year I'm like 25. I'm like, oh my God, I'm such a
Mhm.
failure this year. I don't know what it's been a bad year, but I started reading The Wind Up Bird by Haruki Murakami, and I've been really in
Mhm.
a Japan kind of mood. I've like missed my time in Japan a lot. I'm like really nostalgic about it. So I've been reading a lot of Japanese stuff, and I'm gonna have to do an episode on Murakami soon because I do love Murakami. That's gonna be a paid
Mhm.
episode where I just talk about books, um,
Yeah.
and I'm excited to read your book, man. You guys send me an arc so I can read it, but it's gonna take me like 6 months to do it because I'm
Yeah,
slow.
no, no worries, no worries. I'll send you whatever you need. I will say,
Woo.
for anybody interested in sad boy lit, um, I hear from readers, that the Highwayman Kennedy Thormick fits a lot of that sad boy lit bill. I'm not gonna spoil anything though.
I'm sad and a boy
Yeah,
of some sort.
Boy,
So
that is
yeah,
sad.
yeah,
Well
I am
done.
a boy that's sad, and
yes,
you know, we like more sad fiction. Talk about fiction.
yeah,
You guys read Alexander Helene's like latest short story he posted. That was actually really good.
yes, I did read that one. Yeah, it was
Right.
very good, very good.
For
Yeah.
you listeners, if you haven't read Alexander, he's been posting a lot of his short fiction on Substack, and it's actually really good.
Yeah,
I
check
actually
him out.
I
He's a
started
good time.
posting my fiction on there too,
Hmm.
but I don't you know what I don't like writing short stories. I don't know why I they
It's challenging to fit. It's challenging to restrict yourself to a small word count if you aren't already used to doing small word counts. Like I started writing novels like right off the hop when I
right.
decided to start like taking my writing seriously. So starting my Substack was kind of like that challenge to myself to be like, okay, Lisa, you got to learn how to write short fiction too. But yeah, it's a different method.
It's a
It's a
different art
different,
form. It's a different
yeah, it's
form
totally,
completely.
yeah, yeah.
My brain doesn't do well with it. I think because
Hmm.
I don't actually even really like reading short fiction. I'm not gonna lie. You're supposed to like it. If you're a lit bro, you have to like reading short fiction. I don't love reading short fiction. There's a few n- short stories that I really enjoy, and there's a few collections I've really enjoyed over the years. But for the most part, I am much more fan of like maximalist tomes. I like give me,
Hmm.
Gravity's Rainbow and V, and give me the, Cartarescu's like Solenoid. Give me the big stuff. I like being completely like engrossed in a massive like magician's tome of lit. Um Fisto, you're continuing your series uh, on education, which is fantastic. It's some of my favorite stuff on
Yes.
Substack. So
Um, this week and next is going to be kind of big ones because like the midterm, the midterm that I'm going to give has revealed itself over the past couple of weeks, and I didn't have a fully solid plan until today. And I was telling some of my older students about it. Like I was like, "Hey guys, I want your feedback on this," and I'd give them the spiel, and they would just be like, "Holy shit, holy shit, sir, that sounds cool as hell." Like, all
right,
right, yeah, go for, and then I get some feedback from them and stuff like that. Like, we'll watch out for this, watch out for that. But I'm gonna prep it. Like, my plan is I'm gonna prep it this week. So this week's forest lessons is gonna be, hey, here's what I'm doing, kind of a before, and then I'll do an after, and I'm gonna see how it works out. The other crazy thing I'm doing is on Tuesday I'm going to be preparing, like I'm going to have the kids make a ton of material that's going to get used in the midterm, and I'm
Mm.
also going to get it like my official observation on that day too. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to murder myself. Why not? Let's just have everything all in the next week and a couple of days, and we'll see if I survive.
You know,
Because
I'm gonna throw on a pair of sweatpants and a Fortnite hoodie, and
perfect.
I'm gonna enroll in your high school, and I'm
Yeah,
gonna
you should come
take
on
your
down
Yeah,
because
classes.
you'll fit
I would
right in.
have loved having a teacher like you, so um honestly, like I did like my high school history teacher, but I don't think he had like the guts to buck the uh what you call that? What they're told to teach.
The
Yeah,
administration, the
Yeah,
curriculum.
whatever. Yeah, he was
I'm
really cool to talk with after class,
yeah,
but like during
I'm
class, it was like, okay, we're gonna talk about Vimy Ridge now, I guess. You know, which,
we're we're very fortunate in that at least in the
mhm.
class that I teach, we don't have an end of semester exam or anything like that. The only thing that they've asked us to do is support literacy and get as many kids at a higher level of reading and literacy than they were
Yeah,
before they came in. So as long as we're doing that, they're pretty much like, just make sure you guys are kind of on the same page and that you aren't totally going, 100% rogue. You can
curriculum
go
is the word I
like
was trying to think.
you can go like 75% rogue.
Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, no, we pretty much get left alone, which is
that
nice.
that's
I
awesome.
But
only
yeah,
only a Canadian curriculum could make World War I boring.
oh for fuck's sake, really?
Do you know how pathetic that is?
No,
Like
World War
World
One's
War
freaking
One is
awesome.
so fucking fascinating, but you will
Yeah,
sit
dude.
in a Canadian high school classroom, your mandatory Canadian history class, and it's like, and then the Germans used the gas. And it's like, oh my God, how do you make this boring? How is it
Then the
possible to make
Germans
this
use the
boring?
gas. Oh, that's the worst. No, I'd be telling them stories of like Edwin Rommel like running through the Italian Alps and gunning a bunch of people down and shit like
Yeah.
that. From like
And
I read his biography ages ago, and I remember that
it's
stuff.
not like there's a
World War One was
shortage of
nuts. Yeah.
Canadians coolness in World War I. Like there is a
Oh,
lot
dude.
of things that
Yeah.
Canada did in World War I, but it's so sanitized and made so bland. I don't
Yeah.
how is it possible?
I
How is
think
it
it was like
possible to
five
make that
minutes
boring?
for us in California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
We
I mean,
covered
I
it in
mean, I
like
mean,
20
Yeah.
minutes.
Oh, we had
I,
like a whole semester on it and it was
I'd
still
have an
boring.
entire week on just the
Uh,
American trench gun making Germans mad. Like that would be an entire week.
yeah.
Just watch this stuff, kids. The
Yeah.
Americans roll in and everyone's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Right.
But
All right,
anyway,
guys. So before we end, I do want to do a shout out. Okay, and this shout out's important, I think, because we haven't really done the shout out to these people. And I want to actually thank. This is going to sound lame, all right, but I guess I'm a
go
millennial,
for it.
so I'm going to be honest, right? Because I like things.
Be
Mm.
honest.
I
Yeah.
really think that we should show our appreciation towards the guys running Substack, okay?
Okay.
Because they have really they they've delivered, man. I feel
Yes.
like I
Yep.
oh my God, I'm choking. I'm so sad.
It's all that truth coming out.
It's oh my God. No,
Sad boy engaged. Here we
you
go.
know what? Like they have stuck by their policies on not censoring and not silencing people, and the community as a whole has been really fantastic. I mean, you guys saw it yesterday. You know that woman was coming at me trying to to cause a pylon.
Yeah.
Like she quoted
Right.
me and she
It just doesn't happen.
misquoted me and she got shut down. She's like,
I think one chick blocked me in that thread.
yeah. And for record's sake, look, she took the bait.
Yeah.
I was being like I was obviously being facetious, right? Like come on, right? And
I
it
wasn't. I
it
think all
was
women are actually stupid.
no, but it's funny because if you look at my post, right, I'm like, I think most women are very intelligent. Like it was like
Mhm.
completely like a bait post,
Yeah.
and she took it, and it took 2 weeks for somebody to take it, which is kind of a cool thing, right? Because that was
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't even remember posting that, right? And then they tried to do the old style Twitter thing where like, look at this guy, and like quote
Yeah.
tweet me and try to
Look at
like
his misogyny.
to
His
rally
Yeah.
misogyny.
Oh,
rally
the
the
amount of times that I've been told I have internalized misogyny is just a thing for me now. Oh, this is my internalized misogyny post of today. Yeah.
You're like, I'm sorry,
You
I'm
know what? You know
married,
what, Lisa? You
guys.
should be like, yeah, I've got all this internal misogyny. Now I'm going to pull it out and beat you with it. Now it's going to be external misogyny. So here you go.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
it's
Here it
just
comes.
it just roused me right up. If you're not allowed to call women stupid, like do you know how many women I've talked to who are fucking
Stop saying
morons?
stupid shit. If you don't want to be called
Yeah,
stupid, stop
if you
saying
want to be called
stupid shit.
stupid, stop being stupid.
Right.
Yeah, that's my
It's
freaking
like,
grandfather. All right, don't be stupid. All
well,
right,
you
come
know
Yeah.
on,
what, and
guys.
that, well, what, okay,
Applies to
look,
everybody.
what bothers me about that mindset is that you're supposed to like everybody. And you know what?
Oh
No.
yeah.
I just don't like a lot of
Have
motherfucking
you met
people.
everybody?
All
Fuck
right,
them.
everybody kind of
Yeah.
sucks, right? And
Yeah.
I
I
hate
got
everybody
banned.
equally, you know.
To talk about
Yeah.
fantasy, I got banned off of like Reddit fantasy like 10 years ago because I
Ugh.
said something along the
All the cool
lines
people
where
have it.
like I'm like it was one of those like threads or like one of those giant rants about like, wanting non-European diverse shit in fantasy, right? And I was like, but what if I like that? What if I like castles and knights
What if I
and
like
like
Tolkien?
that's what I want to read.
Yeah.
I want to read knights on horses and princesses and shit. Like is that not cool? And I just got banned. They just banned me like instantly,
Yeah.
And I was like, man, fuck these motherfuckers, And this is
Yeah.
when I
I
was like,
actually don't think Patrick Rothfuss is that good of an author. Banned. Yeah.
oh yeah, oh my God, that guy. Jesus Christ. This is a this is a
You
this is
know,
a
Actually,
Rotfuss.
one of my good friends is a huge Patrick Rothfuss fan, so I just rag on him all the time.
I would just
It's pretty good.
completely
Yeah.
disown that friend. I would go welcome
No, he's
you.
a good guy.
Look,
Yeah.
somebody really recommended that, and I bought the book, and I felt like this was in a time when I felt obligated to read whatever people got me. And I think somebody told my wife that it was a good book, and then like I felt forced to read it, and I read that entire slop book, and I'm so fucking pissed off. It like wasted like 3 days of my life that I actually finished it, and I despise that dude. I hate him, his beard. I hate fantasy because of it. I hate everything about him. Like I wish like a curse
Goodness.
on.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
But yeah, but I think we have to show some respect towards Substack because they do
yeah,
Yeah.
create an
definitely.
environment that they've stuck to their guns about like being an open platform. And I mean, let's be honest here, my dogs are fighting right now for some reason, like they always do at the end of every podcast episode. But yeah, for some, we have to give the credit where credit's due.
Yes.
For all his cartoonishness sometimes, Elon Musk buying Twitter, really changed the cultural landscape. And,
Yeah.
you see that now. And it does matter, right? Because without these platforms, we are not allowed to do the things we're doing. All right,
Mhm.
guys, have a good night. Go ahead and, get ready for some great episodes
Here
coming
we
up. It's going to
go.
be a badass year, okay?
And
It's gonna,
get a paid
Here we go.
subscription.
yeah, get a
Yeah.
paid
Get a
subscription.
paid subscription. Yeah.
This means I have to actually set it up now, right? So it's going to be set up very soon, okay? But
Yeah.
it's going to be awesome. We're going to have so much cool stuff, and
Exclusive erotic reading.
Look,
And if you come across
And
anybody's
guests.
self-published fiction on who post on Substack and you're on there and you see them talking about their books or whatever, it would make an excellent Christmas gift. Uh, print on demand through Amazon should still arrive in time for Christmas
right.
as of the 11th today. It's a good idea.
Everybody needs Palace in their
Palace and the Highwayman Kennedy Thornwick. I don't even know the name of my own book.
yeah.
And yeah, you should buy them and
Absolutely.
give them out as gifts. It's a good time.
And honestly, like no shit to the listeners here, right? I am I'm an elitist when it comes to books, okay? I will never review something that I like, or I won't review something and sell it up unless I absolutely like it. Okay. I am never, this is like an oath. I will freaking a hill I'm
Blood
going to
oath
die on.
time.
Just because
Blood
you're my friend,
oath.
I'm never going to like pimp out your book just because you're my friend. Right.
Mhm.
Good.
So the fact that I love Palace is legitimate. And I don't think I've ever steered anybody wrong. Right. I've had people read books I've recommended going, ooh, it's not for me because it's not because it's bad, but because it might be a little bit too much or something. But I've never had like, I've never lied about it. I only share books that I absolutely have read and absolutely have loved. And I
Mhm.
I
Hey, you're
really
three
enjoyed
for
Palace.
three on me. You're 3 for 3 on me.
Right.
Neuromancer, drugs in
Mhm.
a book form, fantastic. And then Forest Passage and Umiswill. I mean, all three of them have been fantastic.
Right.
Like,
And
hero book
you're
ones.
gonna read that you're gonna finish the Brothers Karamazov and you're
Oh
gonna be
yeah.
like, this is the
I
greatest
understand
novel
all
I've ever read.
things. I
Right.
understand all things. I've become one with the
Yeah.
universe.
Right. So honestly, guys, like pick up Palace and everything Lisa writes because
Yes.
it's really good. And I mean, I recommend Shagdick and Ursula
Oh, I got that
Shag
on
Dick
my
was really, really
pile.
good. I
Yeah,
still
I
haven't
got
read
Shag Duck
Ursula
on
of
my pile.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, there's some good scenes in that one. I mean, he's a Gen Xer though, so or I think
Uh-oh.
he might be a boomer actually. I'm not really sure.
Really? There's no way we had a boomer on our show.
Is he, I don't know.
I don't
No,
think there's any. There's
he
no way.
was
Elder Gen X,
he's an
maybe.
elder
Yeah.
Gen Xer. Yeah, he's an
Elder
elder
Gen
Gen
X, I'll
Xer.
accept.
Yeah,
Yeah. And even if they're a boomer, if they're cool, they're Elder Gen X.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's definitely an elder Gen Xer. Damn, dying here.
But yeah,
Go take
Shag
some
Duck,
medicine.
really good. Um, of course, my books. What are some other Substack books? Alexander Helene.
Oh yeah, Alexander
Let's not
Helene
Hey,
forget,
our
he's
stuff,
boy
got books
right?
Helene.
out as well. He's
He
got
has
the trilogy. I'm actually on book 2 of his trilogy.
where he
Um,
writes. They're very like kind of like man. I read all three of them and I really enjoyed them. I wrote about them recently. The
they're space adventure
space
kind
adventure,
of,
very
yeah,
pulpy
traditional. Yep.
but modernized, pulpy modernized in a good way, I
Hmm.
think, right?
Hmm.
Modern pulp.
Uh,
Fantastic.
Yep.
and our friend Uncle
There's lots
Ted,
of like coming of age in there.
Luigi's Manifesto, definitely
Oh yeah,
throw.
Luigi's Manifesto. Yeah, you gotta read that one.
Definitely got to check out Luigi. He's come a
Uh,
long way since the plumbing days.
yeah,
Yep.
very far. Fang
There's a
Numina, you should throw that on there.
yeah.
Yeah, all the good stuff. But yeah,
Mhm.
guys, wonderful chat like always. Welcome back, season 2. This is episode 1, season
Ooh.
2, and it's awesome.
Woohoo.
And we got so much cool stuff. So let's enjoy the vibe shift and don't give up any ground. Keep writing, keep reading, keep making art, and keep
Make good stuff.
living the good life, man. And that's really what matters, right? Don't be weird. I mean, maybe be weird, I guess. I don't know. I'm pretty
Be
weird.
weird, but be cool
Be
weird.
weird. Yes, unapologetically weird is the
Yeah,
word I'm looking for. Yeah.
just be real, just be truthful.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And I'm about to have dinner. My wife's bringing back some
Yep.
Chick-fil-A. Do you guys have Chick-fil-A
Ooh.
up in the Canada?
Not where I am. We only just recently got a Popeyes, and that was a really big deal. Oh my gosh, we got a
Oh yeah.
Popeyes. Yeah.
Popeyes,
Welcome to the modern world.
Okay,
Yep.
Chick-fil-A is decent, but it's not In-N-Out, okay? In-N-Out is the superior fast food, California supremacy, okay? Um, Shake Shack, man, keep that shit in New York.
But what's really funny, we have a chain called Taco Time. I've never eaten at Taco Bell, but the way that I hear people describe Taco Bell, I'm like, how the hell do we have a better cheap Mexican food freaking chain here? We're in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. And Taco Time is actually, as far as like cheap Americanized Mexican food, it's actually pretty good. It ain't bad. So that's
On the
really
West
funny to me.
Coast, we have a fast food Mexican place called Del Taco,
Hmm.
and Del Taco is like a much better version of Taco Bell, in my opinion. It's like
Yeah.
a fresh stoner version of Taco Bell.
Yeah.
But in Demolition Man,
You guys make me so hungry. Oh
Taco
my
Bell is a
God.
gourmet restaurant in Demolition Man. It's the only
Yeah.
restaurant
Bell.
that survived the fast food wars. So it
Hmm.
is a gourmet
Fast food ones, yeah.
restaurant. All right, guys, have a good night, and thanks for coming
Good
on.
night.
Yeah, good
I'm
night, guys. Good
I'm
times.
hungry for some Chick-fil-A right now, and we'll see you next week. All right, good night.
See you
Bye
guys.
bye.